Good morning, all.
Hi
Morning,
guys.
John. How you doing? Morning, Frank.
Morning.
How's everything going?
Oh, hanging in there.
Oh, I started to tell you about
Your
this while we're waiting. I was telling you about this. We bought a motorhome. We were looking for the one that we had before. John remembers this one. He remembers the first one I had and the second one because he was with me when I got rid of the first one and got picked up the second one. That was a 31 footer, and I towed my Honda behind it. And the one we're getting is 25 foot on a Class C style chassis, no overhead over the cab area. It has a queen size Murphy bed that drops out of the wall, and then it has a second living space in the rear of the unit. So if one person still wants to sleep, you can still go back in the rear of the unit and sit down on a couch, pull out a computer table, work if you want to, watch TV, whatever, without bugging the person at the other end. We've looked at this for some time. We've been trying to find a used one. The new ones are about an 8 to 10 month wait. They come out of Winkler, Manitoba, Canada. The one we're looking for. I tell Marcia, you've always wanted a Mercedes Benz that just happens to have a house attached to it now because it's on a Mercedes Benz chassis. So it's diesel and it gets around 16 to 20 miles to a gallon depending on how much of a lead foot you got. It has some reasonable storage on the outside, really good storage on the inside. It looks real comfortable. It's got the lane assist and the collision avoidance and all that kind of crap that all the newer vehicles. I haven't bought a new vehicle in 10 years. And so we looked and we looked and we looked and we looked. And we just couldn't find a used one anywhere. If you did, you'd find a 2013 for 109 grand. And everybody's waiting to get them. And new this is about 140 the way it's loaded. And by golly, I ran across one in an RV trader for a guy in Vermont. He no sooner bought it, they went on one trip, and then they had a financial problem with the kids getting married or something like that, and they just decided that they live on a lake. They just decided the RVing wasn't their thing, and decided to sell it. So it has 2,500 miles on it. That's about as close to new as you can get. Because I had 6,000 on the last motorhome because they'd taken it to shows. And but we got to fly back to Vermont to pick it up, which we're doing in 3 weeks. So we're going to fly back to Vermont on a Tuesday night. He's going to pick us up at the airport, Burlington Airport, drive us out there. We'll bring him a couple of cashier's checks, and then Marsh and I will we won't have anything with us. We'll have a set of sheets. That's about it, and clothes. And because I started this new diet, I'll have my food with me. We'll have to stop somewhere and pick up food for her. We'll go buy a Big Lots or whatever and kind of load up on essentials to get us by at least until we get back home because we got all the crap left over from the last RV. And but we've decided we had to put the dogs in. We'll have to put the dogs in a kennel, so we don't want to be gone too long because that's $65 a day for nothing. But we're gonna go. We think we're gonna go by because he's real close to Niagara Falls. So we think we're going to go by Niagara Falls, and then we think we're going to detour and go up to Mount Rushmore before we come home. So we think we're going to be gone 6 or 7 days, something like that, to get it home. But she's really looking forward to it. So we've got all the financing and all the financials arranged. We're just waiting to receive the checks for it and to fly back and pick the damn thing up. So looking forward to it. At least we'll have a chance to spend a little bit of our retirement time with besides just sitting around staring at the television. So that's the latest from my side, and I'm sticking to that story and not going to change. Morning, Bob.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, Bob. Greg, are you going to stay on the U.S. or go to the Canadian side in the falls?
Don't know yet. We're going to take the passports with us. It depends on how things are working. I started this diet 3 weeks ago, medically supervised through the hospital, and I've lost 23 pounds so far in 3 weeks. And
wow.
Well, they say an average person who weighs around 400 pounds, the guys usually lose about 30 pounds the first month, and I'm definitely on track for that. The trick is the two choices they have one called Healthy Choice. It's nationwide. They have one called Healthy Choices, and they also have one called Decision Free. And I went with the Decision Free because I knew me. if I had to go to the store and pick up fruits and vegetables, it'd be too easy for me to pick up fun stuff at the same time. So in this case, I have usually their oatmeal in the morning, one or two of their shakes throughout the day, and a couple of their entrees for lunch and for dinner. And I'm averaging around 900 to 1,200 calories a day, and I don't feel hungry, which is really amazing. Now, I miss everything. Let's face it. I'd love to bite into a Big Mac about right now, but hey, you know, that's just the way it is. But I don't care. I want to get rid of 200 pounds. I want to get down to about two and a quarter, something like that. And I want to be able to get to where I can walk without killing me, you know. And so there was another incentive with the RV. If we're going to get into this, that was my incentive to myself, is I got to do something to make it practical to really enjoy the damn thing. So by Marcia just turned 70. I'm going to be 66 here in another week. So I'm hoping to get 10 years out of it for the two of us before we get to the point where we don't feel like doing it anymore. My parents did. They retired at 55 and they used their RV up to about 82 or 83. And it was only the last 2 or 3 years. Well, of course, my dad since passed away, but it's only within the last 2 or 3 years that my parents were restricted to pretty much being at home or a cruise or something like that. So I'm looking forward to it. I convinced her that we're going to try to go about 100 days a year, about a week a month. Of course, some months it might be 2 weeks and then nothing the following month or whatever it is. We'll just play it by ear and see. We can get our mail forwarded to pick it up at certain locations if we want to. I pay everything through bill pay anyway, so that's easy enough. If you can get online, you can take care of all your bills anyway. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So that's where that's at. So, and obviously I'm going to try not to be gone when we have one of these get-togethers, or if I am, I'm going to make sure I'm somewhere where I've got Wi-Fi that's at least tolerable, so we can go from there. So, morning, Ray. How you doing?
Good. Hanging in there.
Morning, Mario.
I'm here.
So other than that, anybody got anything going on while we're waiting for everybody else to join in with us?
Yeah, I've got
We're having
one.
fun with.
Does anybody besides me use Crash Plan for iCloud backup? Probably not.
Yeah, that one, I'm not real familiar with that one, Mario. I mean, I use Carbonite, been using Carbonite for like 3 years now.
That's my next question, because they're closing, the Crash Plan is closing down their home service. They're concentrating on business. So I have to find another one. So,
right.
Now, there was an article, I think in Macworld, that did not recommend Carbonite, but I think they're talking about encryption and all that jazz.
That could be.
But you use Carbonite?
I do, and I have for, like I said, I tried, I listen to Mac Break Weekly through Leo Laporte, and then I also, whenever I'm out driving or whatever it is on Saturday mornings at 10 to 2 or whatever, 11 to 2 or whatever it is, I listen to the Tech Guy or whatever. And that's been one of his plugs for a long time, so I gave it a try, and it seemed to work okay. And then one day I was having a problem. This is 2 or 3 years back. And I've got backups laying everywhere. I've got them all over the place. And I use Time Machine like everybody else does, because it's just too easy. And I decided I was gonna reform my hard drive and clean everything up and load everything back on. This is 3 or 4 operating systems back. So I went ahead and I own both Carbon Copy Cloner and Super Duper. I've got them both because I had customers who had both. And so I used Carbon Copy Cloner, and I made a clone to a drive, and then Marcia and I took off, and we went to dinner. When I came back, it had finished, but it had a couple errors, and like an idiot, I didn't pay attention to the errors. So I went ahead and I reformatted, booted up off of a CD, when you had CDs, booted up off of a CD, reformatted the hard drive, loaded the operating system back on, and my photos did not come back. And I thought, oh, swell. So then I started looking around here, and I thought, okay, well, I can either pull them from Time Machine or I can pull them. I know I've got them on CDs. At various times I've made a CD backup of just the photos library, and it's about 30 gig. It wasn't a big deal, but it was just the idea. And these are only the digital ones. I mean, I got about 50, 60,000 35 millimeter slides. One of these days I'll get around to scanning some of those in, not all of them. So I thought, well, wait a minute, I got Carbonite. Let's see how well that does. I think their documentation leaves a lot to be desired. I keep saying I'm going to write something and see if I can get them to use my documentation. But I sat down and I went ahead and started looking at it, and went ahead and said, all right, let's give it a shot. Let's see if it works. Well, for 30 gigs, it took about a day and a half to get 30 gigs of photos, but damned if everything didn't come back down right into the right spot. And I was amazed with it. Now, one thing there's a few things about Carbonite I don't like. For one, it only backs up your internal drive unless you want to pay a chunk of money to expand it to go to the next thing. Hi, Bonnie. So that's one drawback. Hi, Larry. How you doing?
Right.
That's one thing. And but it'll back up any size internal drive. So that's kind of cool. So if you've got a 4 terabyte internal drive, you pay the same amount per year for backup as the guy with the 250 gig hard drive. So that's kind of nice from that standpoint. Backup is slow, as it would be, because your upload speeds are slow. Morning, Steve. Your upload speeds are slow. You know, they're like about 1/3 of what your download speed would be. But once it's backed up, just like Time Machine, once it's backed up, it's constantly looking for updated files. Now, that's a plus and a minus. What I do like about it is it's pretty much invisible to you. And you can set a priority so that it uses low bandwidth in case you're doing Netflix or doing something like this. I've got it paused right now. And it's also got a pause feature, which I like. The pause by default stays paused for 24 hours. And I think their logic behind that is in case you paused it and forgot about it and walked off and didn't realize, at least it comes back on. Obviously, it requires that your computer is running. Of course, it can be screen saved and all that baloney or asleep. It still works even while it's asleep, at least on the later models. So it works pretty good from that standpoint. What I don't like about it is I think the way they're doing a backup is the way companies that I've worked for in the past did backup, which was you've got a complete backup saying at your stored location, and then I'm actively looking on your hard drive constantly for anything that's being changed, and I'm writing those files on an as-needed basis. That's fine. Here's the drawback to that. If you're doing some heavy processing of video or picture image, depending on which model machine you've got to work with, that's I'll give you an example. I've got a 4-core machine, so I've got 8 dual cores. So I've got 8 processes running in the back. Carbonite can take all 8 of them if it needs to. That's fine if I'm not doing anything else. It's smart enough to back off when I'm doing something else. But sometimes it just bugs me, and I want to get every ounce of power I can back. So I'll go pause it, and then I'll do whatever I'm doing. I wish they had a scheduler. I wish Time Machine had a scheduler. I'll talk about that one in a moment. There's a third-party utility for Time Machine. I wish I had a scheduler where you could say, hey, I only want Carbonite to run between midnight and 6 a.m. Because I could live with I've still got my Time Machine backups which are running all the time. And okay, please mute your mics if you're not talking. So otherwise, we're hearing everybody crackle around there. So Time Machine, with Carbonite, it would be nice to be able to, since I'm running Time Machine as well, and that checks once an hour. Time Machine's default is to check once an hour and see if you got anything and then back it up. Carbonite is actively looking all the time. So it's always eating up 10 or 15% resource trying to find something. Like I said, most of the time I'm just fooling around, not a problem. But it would be nice to be able to have that flexibility, and I've written them a couple of times about that flexibility to actually schedule, hey, only back up these hours when I know I'm not on the computer, because I don't really care. That would be one option. The other option would be to pause it 100%. It never pauses 100%. It still is doing something in the background. My process when I wrote backup programs for the various companies I worked for was, rather than interactively looking for files to back up and then eating that resource and sending them, is I built a listing of files offline that needed to be backed up, and then I tied up the backup portion, the internet or the tape drive or whatever it was, just to write those explicit files. And I found that to be a much more efficient use the technology that I had to work with. So instead of the internet instead of trying to send a file now and then 7 minutes from now and then 13 minutes from now and then 2 hours from now, to me it would be better to make a list of the files I need to send, and at whatever time, maybe once an hour, send those 7 or 8 files. And then an hour later, send those 5 or 6 files. And then an hour later, send those 12 or 13 files. I think you should have the flexibility of being able to do that, and it doesn't have that flexibility. Unless somebody wants to write something externally, and I just haven't gotten off the dime to think about trying to write something. I'm sure I could do it with Automator or something like that. So maybe that'll be a project one of these days. I'll get on the dime and see if I can do it. But I think from a stability standpoint, nothing beats it. I've been real happy with it so far, and it's $60 a year. It's about the same price as everybody else is.
They're all the
Right
same.
now, yeah, they're all about the same. Right now, if you decide that you can get a 2-month trial for Carbonite by mentioning Mac Break Weekly in their deal, and give it a try if you're looking for something for an offline package. I wanted something in case his house burnt down to the ground. We would lose Marsh's and my computer. I just wanted to have an option for that. So one of the ideas I've thought about is Marsh's isn't being backed up to Carbonite, but it is being backed up to the now I can't think of it. To what's the one we got? Time Machine. It's being backed up to Time Machine here in the house. And I thought, if a guy had a large enough internal hard drive, you could back up computer B to computer A and let Carbonite back up computer A. So there's always a way to get around some of these little tricks.
Well,
So
I was going to say, Crash Plan, they did have a schedule. You could schedule it at certain hours and so forth, and you could see when it was working. And also, they had an option where you could also back up to somebody else's computer.
Which I think that's a great idea, Mario, because that saves you the money of having to pay a service to do it. I mean, if you've got somebody with reasonable internet speed, so like you could back up to me, let's say from 1 to 6 a.m., and I could back up to you from 1 to 6 a.m., and you're my backup in case my house burns down, and I'm your backup in case yours slides down into a canyon or something like that. So I think from that standpoint, that's a great idea.
However, like I said, they're going away, so I've got until March of next year.
Well, that's not so bad. That's a pretty good run at least.
Oh yeah, they're giving you plenty of time to find somebody.
Yeah.
I'm starting to search now. So of course, Carbonite is the first one that pops up.
Sure.
But there was another one that was mentioned by, what was it? I forget what they call it. I can't think. I've had it here someplace.
There's one called Backblaze, which is similar. Backblaze. Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that one in the past also. When we used to have physical meetings, who was it? Oh, geez, I can't even think of his name now. He moved to Texas and now he moved back. Oh, for the love of me, he came in and he did a talk on Backblaze, which was pretty good. That's supposed to be a pretty good one as well. So anybody out there using anything besides Time Machine? Any of the off-site backup programs? Google or Microsoft or Apple? Anybody? Or iCloud. I am using iCloud. I do have 256 gig of space on iCloud, mostly for the photos. Again, I've gotten so paranoid over the years that I wanted my photos backed up in multiple locations just in case.
Right.
Carbonite's got a real nice feature. When I was still working, it's invisible. I mean, any of the cloud backups are pretty much invisible, no matter what machine. I could go to a library and I could download files from my Carbonite account. That was kind of cool from that standpoint. Because once in a blue moon, I'd be at Broadcom and I'd need something for whatever purpose, and I thought, oh wait a minute, I got this at Carbonite. And I would go to the web, a web browser, log into Carbonite, and download the file, and then put it onto a floppy or whatever it was, and at least I had it to be able to take it where I needed to go that night, rather than have to go home and do it that way. So that was kind of nice. I think, yeah, well, you know what I mean, a USB drive or whatever. I was trying to be politically incorrect with what you could steal or couldn't steal, But I've been, like I said, for $60 a year, I think it's cheap insurance. I really do. And the Apple 256 gigs of Apple storage is what, $3 a month or something like that. So, and you can get a terabyte of storage, I think, through Apple if you want to. So,
Well,
Right.
that's another option. Okay.
and by default, if you've been running the last 1 or 2 operating systems from Apple, so I not only Sierra, but I think it was El Capitan. I think I started with El Capitan. That everybody who's got an Apple ID, and those are free, and you can have multiple ones. As weird as that sounds, but that becomes a pain into itself. But I could have Greg Locke, I could have Greg J. Locke, I could have Gregory Locke. If they're available, I could have all those. And it doesn't have to be at mac.com or at me.com. It could even be gmail.com. It doesn't really make any difference. I just register as an Apple ID. You get 5 gigs of free storage from Apple with every one of those. Now, that's enough to cover your most recent photos from your iPhone or your iPad or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that if I'm out walking around and I don't let it back up, because I'm such a data freak, I don't let it back up my iPad or my iPhone through anything other than Wi-Fi. I don't want to waste cellular money on that, because I have other backups for that. So like when we go in the RV, I'm not going to take my camera gear back there, but I'm going to take the iPad and the iPhone, at least on this trip. Whatever pictures we take during the day that night, if I'm at a place with Wi-Fi, they'll automatically get backed up. But I also got a couple of USB sticks that I can, with lightning connectors on them, that I can plug into the devices and download the stuff on there. I bought that for the cruise that we took last October. So that kind of covers me on that aspect as well. And you know what? I went for Google Photos. Google Photos, if you want, will back up all your photos as JPEGs. You can have them saved as uncompressed files, but then you got to pay for it. But they'll save as much as you need as as compressed files. So my feeling is a low-res version of my mom and dad's better than no version of my mom and dad. So for the Google Photos, I have that running on here all the time. I have that backing up off my iPhone and my iPad as well. Not as well, it's free, but they're lower res versions. The iCloud is getting full res versions. The Mac keeps full res versions. The iPhone and the iPad keep what Apple likes to call optimized versions, which is if you need the space, it makes low res versions for screen display purposes. And then when you need a higher res version to edit, it just downloads it if it has access to the file on an as needed basis. So if that makes any sense, I know I've probably gotten people really confused, but and that was my goal.
Great, to change the subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
The time machine is very handy for us where you just made a screw up.
Yes, it's no two ways about it. It's perfect for that.
Yeah, you go find something right away and fix it. So that's fine. And I do have the carbon copy cloner backup out here sitting on the desk. But if the house burns down, I want the iCloud backup.
I don't blame you. You want something that you want some way of getting something back.
Yeah.
So like me, Marcia had, we had bought ourselves one of these Epson printers about a year ago, I guess, was one with the flatbed copy scanner, document feeder, fax, email, had all the crap built in. It was like $80, you know, you can't beat the deal. Now, the problem with the smaller printers, unless you're into refilling ink cartridges, is the ink cartridges. Me personally, I hardly print anything. I save everything as a PDF. First off, it's electronic. Secondly, I can sort it. Thirdly, I can edit if need be. And I can email it to somebody without a copy and fax it and do all that baloney. So I just, of course, Marcia immediately went nuts and went through 2 or 3 sets of cartridges, printing every page she saw on the website that she liked, she printed it. And what we ended up with? We ended up with 2 or 3 reams of paper of crap that you're never going to look at again. Let's face it. That's the way it is with everything. So for the longest time, we hadn't gotten around to changing the cartridges. I was still using it for scanning, but we weren't changing, and it works wirelessly with my iPad and my iPhone, so that's pretty cool from that standpoint. So finally, we needed some documents for the RV that we're buying, and we needed to sign them, so we had to go through the manual process. Yeah, I could have taken a picture with the iPhone, but I said, you know what, we've got the ink cartridges, why don't I just put them in there? Just don't go crazy with this. Look, here's the save as PDF option when you print something. And she was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that. You know, honey, sometimes you have to read or try, you know. So I got that all setting up, and you know, for an $80 printer that does literally everything and works with your iPad and your iPhone, if you don't have to print a lot, it works really, really great. It's a great deal for the price. I'm sure Brother and HP, they all make one that does something similar to that. And that has worked out really well for us. For the longest time, I had my other Epson physically plugged in, and I had to keep it online because I was sharing it out for her. And now this works where it picks us up Wi-Fi, or it picks us up through the Ethernet cable or whatever it is. It's just hard to beat, and it just seems to work all the time, you know. So can't go wrong on that. Morning, Jay. You're new. I haven't met you before. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm Frank Mossberger's son.
Oh, is that right? Well,
Yes,
we won't
sir.
hold that against you. It's your unfortunate. you can't help that. Well, nice to see you, Jay.
Hey,
You
Greg.
too.
Yes.
Greg, can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah, Bob, go ahead.
I think we need to have a discussion about the serious Equifax breach. It's been in the news. Pretty serious stuff.
Yes.
Say that again. Say that again, Bob. I didn't hear it clearly.
I think we need to have a discussion about the serious Equifax breach of data.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. I was kind of hoping we'd get Robert this morning. Steve, have you talked to Robert? Why don't you give him a call and see if he's available? You're muted at the moment, just to let you know. I can read your lips a little bit, so.
Well, in the meantime,
Tom,
have you taken a look at the group, the Facebook group that's been created?
Yes, I have, and that looks good, John. I haven't looked at the last 2 days, but I
Well,
think
I used some of the graphics you sent me and put them in
Good.
there. So when you get a chance, take a look and tell me if you like it or not.
I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll do that. We may pick up a couple extra people because I don't know whether anybody caught on, but I was on Leo Laporte's Tech Talk here a couple of weeks ago, and
Right.
I was asking him about Wi-Fi boosters for the RV. I figured that might be a good hook to be able to get on the show.
Uh-huh.
And I got a plug-in for the Orange Apple Computer Club, and we got about 15 members that signed up listening to his. Of course, if you look at the transcript of his show, he calls me, it says my name is Alan, not Greg, but that's okay. So that's
Okay,
all right,
Alan.
whatever it takes. Oh, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. So, so I don't know whether anybody is a Microsoft user or not. With Word or Office or whatever. I mean, I've been using it forever and a day.
I got Office
but-
on my computer.
Yeah, but I don't know whether you read it or not. But Microsoft admitted the other day that if you've got Office 2011 and you've just been doing the little updates to be compatible with all the different changes in the Mac operating system, they're no longer going to support that. Where they've been 20 years on supporting the PC side, they figure that 2011, that 7 years or 6 years or 7 years or whatever is going to be good enough. Now it's not going to just die. So at the moment, supposedly Microsoft Office will work with. I haven't tried it, to be honest with you. I've got a preview of High Sierra running right now. I'm sure it works fine, but they'll probably only support Macintosh on the 2011 version of Office till about May or June of next year, something along those time frames.
I think I'm running like a 2007 version of it on my MacBook Pro, and it works just fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, and what operating system are you running on the MacBook Pro? Do you know?
Sierra.
Sierra? Okay, so that's good. As long as you've done the little bug updates or patch updates or whatever thing that they had, that seems to work okay. But let's face it, they caught on to what Adobe has, that the real money is subscription.
Yeah.
So they're gonna try to lock everybody into a subscription service down the road.
Greedy bastards.
Well, you know what? I guess you got to do what you got to do, to try to keep the business. I mean, let's face it. If I was still working and using Word and Excel, I hardly ever use PowerPoint because I like Keynote better. But if I was using Word and Excel on a regular basis, and I mean, 3 or 4 times a month, I'd probably go for the subscription. I really would. Same with Adobe. I've still got an Adobe Creative Suite, and that's going to die out here in a couple of months, and I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah.
because I went to use Illustrator the other day, and it's a damn klutzy. I'd rather use an older version of Illustrator. It's just so
Right.
buggy.
Exactly.
And several companies have got competitors out for Illustrator that I'm going to experiment with. And then I just got to find myself something that's like an InDesign. Pages will get me by, but I'd like to have something that's more like InDesign. And those were that and Acrobat. Those were the four that I really used from Adobe. So I'm going to let Creative Suite go and save the money on that one and put it towards something that's a little more viable for my taste.
Sure.
And Affinity seems to work great from a photo standpoint, so I'm happy with Affinity.
Right.
And what you got there, Steve?
Robert.
I can't read it.
Okay. Says I've got a memorial today that prevents me from enjoying the meeting.
Okay, well, it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead. Anybody?
Greg?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you get going, I got tripped up this month. What happened was I was having some strange problems with my emails, and it kept putting stuff in junk. And so I
Oh yeah, we were talking about. Yeah, you called me that the other day on that.
Yeah, well, the stuff it's gone, and of all the things, what do I tell people all the time? Back up, back up, back up. And Time Machine is such an easy way to do it. And so all my mail is gone. And that, like if I had an order on something and I'd get confirmation, it's gone. I don't know where it went, but I tried using Data Rescue and got tons of folders. I think I got 8 folders of 10,000 each. And the stuff and it's all disorganized. I mean, the file would say, oh, well, it's this date, and you open it up or you click on it to view it, and you would find out that it's a different date. And so I started going through every one of those folders, and the stuff that's most current that I need is, so, it's like, you hate to tell people all the time, use Time Machine, and you didn't even use it myself because I had changed from my Mac Pro Tower to a 27-inch iMac, and in the process, and I had a drive sitting there on the floor, brand new in the box, and I didn't hook it up. And so
is your wife Diane around, Steve? Is your wife Diane around?
She's out. In fact, I was going to tell you guys, you were complaining about Microsoft. Well, they're just down the street from me.
No, I was going to have Diane come up and spank you for not having a backup.
Oh, hit me on the top of the head.
Look at, did you go to iCloud and see if your mail was backed up in iCloud? It should be.
It should be, but the thing is if I haven't got it set up because I don't understand, you remember I'm a hardware guy, that, you pay the price and you learn once, and, it's tough. But
Steve, it's all about software now.
Yeah, well, at the very least, Steve, whatever you've recovered, even though it's all jumbled up, you should host it somewhere on one of your Macs, and I'll tell you why. Give Spotlight a chance to look through it, because even if it's got them stupid cryptid names, if you know what's in the email, it can still find it. So consequently,
so maybe I can look it up.
If you know you got
date.
the name, yeah, that's right. Either by date or Johnson, or I bought something. I bought a tire minder pressure system or whatever it is. So get it on your computer. Give it a few days to let Spotlight add it into its database, its free-floating database, and then do a Spotlight search on whatever you're looking for. Chances are it'll find it. You'll have to scroll through that list. I don't like the way Spotlight works this way. But you scroll to the very bottom of the list and click on Show and Finder, and then you have to go click in the big box Show and Finder, and now you'll have everything, and you can save that. You can save that screen
Yeah.
go back and go back in there and see where it's found that word message,
I
that time
should
message.
have. I should have done that.
You can
'cause
find. Well, you still
after-
probably have access to it. It's just a pain
have
to rebuild it. I've done it. I've gone that route, and I hate it. But sometimes, how often do you have to go back and look at old mails? You just want to have it from a security standpoint more than anything else.
My deal is, I just need the stuff from this year. That's all. I have stuff going back to 2008.
And I'm sure I do too. And I'm reluctant to get rid of it, but I just leave it there. I figure, what the hell? I've still got space on the drive. Why worry about it?
That's it.
Now, I will say one thing that's coming up in High Sierra when it comes out. It's only going to be next Tuesday for anybody who's available at 10 a.m. You can go to the Apple website and you'll be able to watch their keynote live. Now it'll be primarily iPhone 7 and probably iPhone 8, and probably watch Series 3 and maybe Apple TV 5 and HomePod. There won't be much in the way of Mac, but it'll be talking about the Mac operating system a little bit. But they'll either release High Sierra that week, next week, or the week after. They're almost always within 1 or 2 weeks. And I wouldn't recommend anybody get the preview because I've had it crash on me a couple of times. Although for this latest, I'm on like the 5th preview beta, and it's pretty stable right now. But it crashed earlier this morning when I was trying something. But I can always go back. I made myself a way to get back. But it's going to have ability, besides having a more efficient filing system, the Apple filing system, the APFS or AFS as it's now being called. It's going to have a better way of archiving mail messages. So it would be worthwhile to plan on upgrading one or all your machines to that somewhere down the road, somewhere, a month or two down the road or whatever.
Greg, the thing that I messed up on, you were talking about iCloud, that I didn't, there's some things I got to get some help with or something, is are my computers connected to iCloud? Are really stable?
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Jable. It is really stable. I haven't put it on my phone, but I do have it on my iPad, and it's extremely stable on the. In fact, they just had an update a few days ago again.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, that I wish that I could have my phone, my iPad, my computers. You do it on one, and like I do an update, and like I took my iPhone and I got rid of some messages and stuff, but then when I got to the iPad, it hadn't taken the messages out. So
that's something you have to set that up, but you can't do it.
I know. It's like
there's this new thing out there, Steve, called Google, and you can Google how do I get all my junk in sync, and by golly, there'll be 4 or 5 documents that explain how to do it.
I tell you, I have used that, and it's something I should look up and tell you some of the things that I searched for and found information on, and it's like you can't believe how connected we are, how easy it is to get help on something. You got a problem with your car, okay? You go look for something, and there's YouTube and stuff. People make these videos and walking you through how to repair your door lock and stuff. But anyway, did you catch that I was up here in Seattle?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, well, you got to calm down on your talking, because I was trying to interject that before. Yeah, we're up in Seattle, coming to you live from the Four Seasons in downtown Seattle.
So this is the Wi-Fi in the room that you're coming across?
Yep.
Wow, it's actually looking pretty good.
And it's their free Wi-Fi. They have an option. You can take their free Wi-Fi, and it's throttled or something, and then you can take and pay more to get a faster speed. But this looks, unbelievable. And the reason I'm kind of tilted today is because I didn't bring the notebook with me.
Oh, you look
And-
tilted all the time.
Yeah. What am I going to do with you, Greg? Anyway,
Yeah,
so one thing my son had mentioned to my wife and I is that the Equifax deal happened, and they're looking to prosecute the 3 top people at Equifax. And since my wife is now working for a bank, she says there are so many controls in place. It's not funny, you know. I mean, the feds have got their hands tied and all that stuff. And how and why the people at Equifax decided they're going to do it this way, and they're just looking for trouble. And then the other thing that I just can't get my head around is, oh, well, we're sorry, but we'll give you a free year of credit monitoring and stuff. It's like, man, you've screwed up my life. You should give it to me forever.
But that is if you choose not to prosecute them, to have you have to sign a little thing saying, you know,
that's what I saw last night. Bob, I was at a party for my niece is getting married on Sunday, and I had texted Bob Reed earlier, and he confirmed that he had seen it on a few channels. Actually, I'm beginning to think that when I have one guy on Facebook that sends out these messages with different news things and stuff, and what happens is the name of the place they're taking you to is news this or news that or whatever, and they're like these fake news. I says, I'm just not going to do these things anymore and just watch or get my information from going to channel 7 or channel 2 or whatever, because like, for instance, how many people saw a photograph coming through the internet where the Houston airport was flooded with the tail sticking up through the water of the airplane?
I missed that. I would have liked to have seen that photograph.
Well, yeah, it's cute. Somebody did it, but it was a scam. I mean, it was a hoax. And so many people that I know that are very knowledgeable people got tripped up on that because they reposted it to Facebook. So
One thing that bothers me about this Equifax thing, if I understand the news reports correctly, it was about 2 months after Equifax actually found out about this that they made the whole thing public.
Yeah, it happened in June or July.
Yeah.
That far back?
It started in June, or it started in May.
Okay, this is what really bothered me about it. There doesn't seem to be any law that requires them to report this to the public when they find it out. And most credit cards and bank accounts require that you report a problem with, extra charges and stuff like that, or erroneous charges within a fixed amount of time.
Yeah.
Usually it's a couple months, some of them it's 3 months and so forth. So when they delay telling you about this for a couple of months, there's a lot of people that potentially won't be able to get a restitution and so forth.
Right.
And there's no law to protect us from that. That's what's really bothering me about this.
Why don't we let Bob tell us about it, because he's a banker and he knows what he's talking about.
Well, there's plenty of laws for banking and financial institutions like you're describing, Bart. But for Equifax, they're not. They're a public company, and they're regulated by the SEC, who waits for disasters to happen before they act on anything. They're very unregulated.
Well, the first thing that I think is that really aggravates me. How many years has it been since the first hacking deal came about? And then what happens is these companies, all of these companies that didn't check their security, they should have gotten together and said, okay, we're going to hire this person, this company to, protect us. And they don't. They work all independently, and they wait for the problem to happen rather than doing it beforehand.
Okay, I have a question too. Why do we need 3 credit checking or credit verification companies in this country? Why 3?
John, why would? Well, because let's see, one got hacked. Okay, so then you say, well, the stuff from that place is not going to be accurate and up to date, probably. And so you have a way to balance them by checking the 2 other ones.
Bob, is there a reason for 3?
Only the fact that it's competition, and if you had one, somebody would be yelling antitrust suits
Or monopoly.
And you got to remember, these credit bureaus started back in the 50s and 60s.
Yep.
The manual world, and when the various companies like TransUnion or Equifax or Experian, as they grew, they gobbled up all the credit bureaus around the country. So
Right.
you had a proliferation. They were in every county, every city around the United States originally. Now you got 3 of them that have gobbled them all up and taken the, and if you're being cleared by a retailer or whatever, they check all 3 of them. So you're listed on all 3 of them.
Yeah, but they all have different ranges of credit scores, which are considered good, bad, medium, or whatever, don't they?
Yeah, once in a while you have a company that will just clear on one bureau and be satisfied with it. Like I got my wife a cell phone, which she never liked anyway. I have my credit files locked, which I frozen, which I highly recommend everybody to do, particularly seniors. And so I had to unfreeze one account. I asked the retailer, the phone company, I said, which credit bureau do you want to use? And they said, well, we'll use whatever one it was. I don't remember. So I unlocked that one for about 2 days. I let them run the credit check, and then I locked it up.
Thank you.
Okay, what's with this? A lot of people are using the FICO score.
Well,
What do you mean using it? It's what they do to decide how good of a risk you are before.
No, but a FICO score is an overarching of all 3 credit companies.
FICO
Oh, yeah. Okay.
FICO stands for Fair Isaac's computer or credit scoring. What does that affect?
Right.
It was developed back in the 60s in the manual days, and now it has become the rule of your credit score. And
Right.
Take into account, we used to take credit applications where you got so many points if you had a phone number at home, so many points if you were on the job more than 3 years in different professions, and you had to score up, and the person passed, they got a loan. If they didn't pass a certain level, they were rejected. So it's basically the same thing. Not only it's highly computerized, and everything you do in the credit world, where you add a new credit card, buy a car, changes the scoring, and it is what it is.
And the thing that gets me, Bob, is that if you decide, hey, we have 6 credit cards, like I got Home Depot, I've got TJ Maxx, and then the MasterCard and the Visa and Costco and all that stuff. And you say, hey, I don't need this much credit. Okay, get rid of some cards, and it changes your score because of the calculation.
Yes.
And my wife is scared to get rid of any or stuff like that because, I mean, we're 860, or I am. And
Yeah, but Steve, can't you always just don't cancel the card, just cut it up?
Or
So
just
you
put
won't-
it in a drawer or something, yeah.
Yeah, and then just make sure whenever you get a statement that nothing's on it.
Yeah, yeah. So
You can do that, but it still leaves your account open and vulnerable to a hacker.
Yes, that's true.
So,
Well, Bob, isn't there a way to tell the credit bureau that all you want to do is reduce the number of credit cards you have without them affecting your score? There's got to be a process for that of some sort.
if you close an account by customer request, it shouldn't have any significant, I use the word significant, impact on your.
Oh, really? Okay.
But
Not that I want to close them all, but the thing is it's just, we'll give you 10% off if you sign up while you're checking out at TJ Maxx or Marshall's or something. And you get hooked by that.
My credit score is in the 800s, and I have canceled all credit cards in the past, except for 2, and plus my bank card.
Yeah. And every time I go into the bank and I want to cash a check, and they say, well, just run your ATM card through it. And it's like, I must be one of the few, my debit card, or I think it's called a debit card. And I say, I don't have one. That's one thing. I just don't want another card. My wallet right now, oh God, this is fun. I don't know if you can see it, but that is.
Oh, that reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld where George had so much crap in his wallet, it was shooting him off the seat.
Yeah, I mean, there's cards. There's 4 cards here. There's some of them are doubled up. And what we do, or what I try and get Diane to do, is to, like, say, use American Express Blue for our meds and use something else for the family. And then I have the business account that I was charging stuff on separately.
Hold it closer so I can get the number off of it, Steve.
But I want to see the back. I want the secret number on the back side.
Guess what? No. This is the new cards. There's no numbers on it.
Oh.
It's on the back side.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The city card.
But that's your AE Advantage card. That's a regular credit card.
This is Citibank. Citibank MasterCard.
Same with Costco. Same with the Costco card.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, go for it.
Something I heard yesterday on the news is why they waited so long to report Equifax.
Why was that, James?
It's when the executives at Equifax found out that there was a breach, they sold all their stock.
That's what they're being investigated for.
Oh, man, schmucks. We should have a way of coming back and getting at these guys for this crap.
Well, we know so far that the top 3 executives, or among the top 3 executives, one of them being the chief financial officer of all things.
Yes. Sold their shares.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, then they're not very smart. They should have realized that was going to come down. But I have a question.
They probably think they're untouchable.
Well, yeah, all criminals do. But my question is, okay, am I to assume that my credit history went with them, even though I've had no direct dealings with Equifax, and I don't know the last time I asked for my score, but if I buy some doodad from a company I've never heard of before, something electronic, or my wife gets some shoes, does that mean that they looked into it and started an account with into their account with Experian and Equifax?
Well, whenever you apply for credit, they're going to check whichever credit bureaus they want, and they have them check all 3. And so you become listed on those 3, or whichever one.
Even if I just use a Visa that I've used for years and years, do the companies investigate my credit?
Yeah, but if you to take a Visa card as an example, the credit bureau updates that file constantly every month electronically to be sure you're paying on time and so forth. So if you freeze your credit account, then only those accounts that are on there will be updated periodically by the lender. But nobody else can inquire. Nobody else can get a credit rating from your frozen account. which is the best solution. We froze our accounts 8 years ago, and we never regretted it.
Hmm.
And there's a slight fee for it in some states. If you're here in New Mexico, if you're over 65, the charge is free. So it may be free in your state.
What do you do? Contact each credit vendor?
Yeah,
and just tell them you want to freeze the account?
Yes, and you have to do it for your wife separately. So there's 6 times you got to do it.
6 times? Oh,
three credit bureaus, 2 each.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we back up to something that was discussed maybe 10 minutes ago and other things cut in there? Someone had mentioned that the way of protecting yourself was if one credit bureau had a problem like Equifax, that the other 2 basically acted in some ways as backing up your credit. But isn't it true that all 3 of them periodically share the information with everyone, so that if someone reports something about your credit to one of them, automatically, eventually, it ends up being on all of them?
I can't speak to whether each credit bureau shares their information back and forth, but all derogatory information, whether judgments or bankruptcies or whatever, it's typical that the lender or the government agency or whatever posted on all 3 of them at the same time. All 3 of them generally have the same information, but it can vary slightly.
So in other words, if a hacker, let's say, puts some bad information on a bunch of people's accounts in one of them, very quickly, all of them would have the bad information on all of those people's accounts. So effectively, you don't have a real backup in the other 2.
Well, a hacker doesn't have access to put stuff into your account. All he wants to do is get your social security number, your
date of birth,
number, all that stuff, so he can steal stuff from you.
Well, 1 minute. We've noticed over time that hacking has evolved, and it's, the protections have evolved, but the hackers always seem to be one step ahead.
Yeah.
Isn't it fair to assume at some point the hackers are going to be able to figure out how to actually go in there and alter information in accounts? I think it's sort of dumb to go on the assumption that they're not going to be able to eventually develop that capability.
Well, I don't know what advantage they would have doing that.
If you don't have
well, it isn't necessarily for advantage. I mean, how many hacks have you heard about where they're just trying to, some kid is trying to figure out, see if he can do it just for the challenge of doing it or for the fun of it.
Yeah, not there. There's the criminals, and then there's the hackers that are doing it just for the fun of it, or they think it's fun. And
yeah, but regardless of motive, they're going to be doing tremendous damage either way.
Oh, yes.
Well, I think we're too lenient when we catch these guys. I think they need to put their hands down on a table, and somebody needs to take a hammer and whack every knuckle in their hand.
or we do like the guys. I saw a video, a 3-minute video the other day, and I just had, it was yesterday actually. No, it was Wednesday. And so what happened was, or Thursday, we flew up here. So it's Thursday. And there was a video of some of the Muslims, pardon my French, if they are anybody of that is listening, but they had a deal where some young girl broke away from her house, from her family, and she wanted to get married to a friend of hers that she chose, not the family chose. And And then she got contacted by her folks, and they said, well, come home, we'll forgive you, and all this stuff. And the next thing you see is her getting kicked and beaten and by people, 100 guys that were laying in wait for her. And it was just merciless.
Called honor killing.
Oh God, I just could not believe it. I mean, I've heard of it, but to see it, it's just insane. But we should drop a brick on those kids or people, not even kids. I can't say that. You know, like Greg said, you know, you gotta make them accountable for their stuff. We were trying to do a wedding rehearsal the Thursday night, and the thing is that there was a couple of little girls. They're supposed to be the flower girls, and they're old enough to know better, and they're running around and they're laughing and I was like, hey, you guys got to realize when we're doing this for real, you're not playing around. So many people, the parents don't take responsibility for raising their kids. They, you know, just very lax with them. Anyway, I'll shut up.
I have something about the computers. Okay?
Go ahead.
I just found out recently, I didn't realize before, that flash drives can become very hot. I was transferring some videos. We had some old movies made into by an outstanding service, go through these old films, and they put them on a flash drive. Well, I was transferring the information so I could send to relatives, and I put my hand on it, and it was so hot that I, as quickly as I could, dismounted and turned off the computer. Later on, I went to Google and found that the smaller the flash drive is, the hotter it can get. And one of them said it burned his fingers, it was so hot. But not to worry, most are high enough quality that they can tolerate the heat. Any comments?
That's interesting, Ron. I've got these two little flash drives. I think I showed them once before, made by SanDisk. They're 128 gig, and they were listed on Amazon one day for like $16. And fool that I was, I only bought two of them. I wish I'd have bought more, because now they don't even offer them anymore. They're offering the 32 gigs for about $16. Right. And I leave them plugged in. They're USB flash drives, and I've got them both plugged into the two USB ports on my MacBook Pro here. And I use one of them. I don't need to leave them plugged in. I just do, because I'm using. I've got a Belkin, one of those Belkin Thunderbolt adapter gizmos that allows you to plug in all kinds of USB and FireWire and all that kind of baloney across the back. So those ports were available here, and I have one of them has got. I'll show you. Hang on a minute. I'm going to go ahead and show my desktop.
Hey, Greg, how did you do that with the, you had that screen right there where you had more people, oops, no.
Go ahead.
Yes. How do you get it to where it shows all the people? Because like I could hear Ron Wempen, but I couldn't see him. And then
gallery view.
Yeah.
Gallery view.
What do you do? You mess with a setting or something?
No. When you're looking at your screen in the upper right-hand corner, well, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So right now it says right there. My mouse is pointing to speaker view. So if I click that, it gets who's ever talking, and then by default it will show the 5 or 6 people or whatever, the most recent talking people. But now as you see, it's toggled to gallery view. So if I click at the gallery view, it gives me the screen with up to 25 people displayed.
Oh, that's what I want.
When we get more than 20, we have 18 on here right now. When we get more than 25, then people are bounced in and out of the display or whatever it is. That make sense?
Yep. When you give our thing back to us, or maybe I can do it right while you're doing that. Anyway, show people what you were trying to show them.
Okay. So here on my desktop, you can see right here, these three. It's actually two. This OneDrive here called GGL Web Drive, kind of hard to see with that background, and the one called Extras are actually the same 128 gig drive. In fact, you can see it down below here. You can see this one here called GGL Photos Backup. I told you I was paranoid about my photos. So I have Carbon Copy Cloner every night at 1 a.m. back up my pictures folder in my home directory onto this 128 gig drive. So not only do I have photos being backed up on Time Machine, and also through Carbonite, and also through iCloud, and also through Google Photos, I have it also being backed up onto this 128 gig flash drive, because the USB port was sitting here collecting dust, and this was so cheap to buy this little device that I went for that. The other one you see up here, the one that's called iWeb Drive, what that is I took the other one of the 128 gig drives, and using disk utility, I partitioned it to give me a 50 gig partition, and then the balance over here on this one called Extras, and that's just a holding one. You can see I got about 16 gigs. Whenever I've got a bunch of just junk sitting over here on my system and I need to get some free space up, I just cram it over there on Extras until I get around to cleaning it up. But this one called GJL iWeb Drive, and I've even added a little icon to it. You can see it's got the iWeb icon on it. It's so that I'm still using iWeb for two customers' websites, one OACC and one a friend of mine's I did way back when. And unfortunately, iWeb, it runs, I don't know why that keeps popping up. It runs under, okay, all right, how about that? It runs under Yosemite and High Sierra or whatever, but it doesn't edit properly. So I go ahead and I boot to that small 50 gig partition, which is Mavericks, believe it or not, and run iWeb, make the one or two changes I need to in iWeb, and then reboot back into Sierra until I get off the dime and get a different web-based program. I've got 3 or 4 of them, and I just haven't bothered to commit myself to redoing the websites, but I'm going to have to do it at some point in time, because it's, quite honestly, it's getting to be a pain now at this point in time. But that's what I've done from that standpoint. And that seems to work out pretty good from that.
Okay, now Greg said if I go to the upper...
Well, on mine it shows in the upper right-hand corner, I get 2 choices. Speaker view or gallery view. It switches back and forth, and then exit full screen.
I saw that. Now mine, when I touch the screen at the top, it says mute, stop video, share content, participants.
Okay, on mine that's on mine that's over. See, I'm looking at the host side, so it probably looks a little different than it does for you guys. Do you guys see the option on your screens? John, do you see on your screen in the upper right-hand corner or somewhere where it says speaker view or gallery view?
The only thing I got this one little thing in the way. Gallery view, exit full screen.
Where's that located at on your screen?
Upper right-hand corner.
It is, okay.
Okay, now if mine, in speaker view, it's showing the gallery. It's showing everybody. When I click on gallery,
right, that toggles back and forth.
It's actually showing you.
Right. So like right now, mine says speaker view, but I'm actually looking at a gallery view. It's telling me if I want to switch to speaker view, I click that button. And then if I want to switch back to gallery view, I click the other button. So I usually leave it in gallery view, because you know what, a bigger version of me on the screen, just a bigger version of me. So
if I click on one view, it goes to the other one. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's strange, because mine shows in the upper right, gives me my battery, gives me.
Okay, no, not that menu. Not that menu, Steve.
No, I'm saying
Zoom menu.
Zoom
menu. Wait a minute, you're on an iPad though, right, Steve?
Yeah. So things are probably different, because like I said, if I touch the top anywheres, it gives me first the iPad top line, which is your iPad and Wi-Fi and time and battery level. And
okay, so give me a couple of minutes and I'll bring my iPad up and I'll take a look at it as well.
Just a comment about somebody was asking about flash drives. I have an M2 drive in my Hackintosh, which is basically an SSD drive that's mounted to the motherboard. And I was noticing when I was reading the information about it, it says that if that drive gets up to 50 degrees centigrade, it automatically downclocks itself so it doesn't overheat any more than that. Kind of an interesting thing. But that thing, when I've done tests on it, it's doing 500 plus megabit reads and writes, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
anyway, I just thought I'd mention that you know there could be something in there, even though they're hot. 50 degrees centigrade is pretty hot to our touch, so
yes, it is.
You know, these drives are they're pretty durable. So I just thought I'd make mention of that.
Well, Frank, you reminded me that you have that you're using a Hackintosh, because a friend of mine gave me his old Windows thing that he had been messing with, and it runs a version of the Mac OS. And for some reason, he kept running into a problem with Wi-Fi or something like this. So maybe what I should do is I should bring that over to you and see if you can figure it out and see, because otherwise it's just another piece of hardware.
Yeah, I think I may have looked at that's running a lot older system of OS 10.
I really don't remember,
because I think you brought that to one of the meetings once a couple years.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and that was one of the early. It was like running system 10.4 or 10.5 or something like that.
Oh, okay. I'll check.
Okay, Steve. Here's the trick.
Okay.
Touch on your iPad. Touch somewhere. It's like, let's say, an inch or so down in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll see the words "Leave Meeting," "Switch Camera," "Gallery View," or "Switch to Gallery View."
Okay, so if I touch, it says "Leave Meeting."
Okay, don't touch that. And then you see two circles below it. One says "Switch Camera," and the other one says either "Switch to Gallery View" or "Switch to Speaker View."
Yeah, it says "Switch to Active Speaker."
Okay, do that. Click that.
Hang on. No, come on.
Excuse me, I'm on iPhone and I'm not getting any of those things.
It should be the same thing, Bonnie, in the upper left-hand corner, but you have to touch the screen for those menus to pop up. So touch the upper left-hand corner somewhere, and you should see some options for that.
Okay.
Well, I see back to Safari and on for the sound in the upper left-hand.
Hey, on the iPhone, though, the screen is so small.
It may not give you that. I don't know for sure.
To do a gallery view on that.
Well, Greg, when I went to those two circles, I touched the one that said switch to speaker view, and it brought you up full size. And then if I click
now wait a minute. When you're in that view, when you're in speaker view, if you look down in the lower right-hand corner, or wherever, it could be anywhere on the screen, you can also see another. You can see yourself, but you've got a plus and a minus or nothing.
Yeah.
You have a camera located in the lower right-hand corner.
I have
a blue camera.
Me.
Okay, all right. So, and you can see a plus and a minus.
Yeah.
If you click the plus, it'll show 4 people across the bottom.
Right.
It'll show the 4 most recent people. I was
trying to get the whole group.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So then you want to go back up there and switch to gallery view, and it won't show everybody.
Okay.
It looks like it maxes out at 9.
9. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's my problem for bringing just the iPad.
Well, I mean, what the hell? I mean, how Either that, or you're gonna have to have a magnifying glass to see everybody's face. That's the problem.
Well, that's number
And if you
one,
give me a
but
few minutes, Bonnie, I'll bring it up on my iPhone so I can see what it looks like that way as well. So, but I think that's a limitation of. I think they figured out, hey, you only got so much screen real estate. It's kind of pointless.
Well, at some point, it would like automatically pop up with the gallery, but there wasn't a control for it, so I couldn't, make it appear when I wanted.
Yeah, what you need to do is just kind of touch around. If you've got that PDF on the iPad, I didn't make one up for I didn't think too many people would be using it with an iPhone, but I'll have to look into that.
There's this thing down in the right-hand lower corner that says more.
Okay, what does that say?
It says more, and when I press
that,
it
says give nonverbal feedback if you want to do
go
slower, go fast. Yeah, that's pointless.
Which doesn't do you much of anything.
No, all right. So let me get out of my iPad here because this is a little buggy looking. And I'll bring it up on my iPhone while we're still talking. I'll bring it up on my iPhone so I can look at it that way as well.
Okay.
But you have to have Zoom for iOS on those devices, right?
Well, yeah, that's right. You do need that application, which she's got, obviously, because she's talking to us. So
right.
Now, that's strange, because last night I went to Zoom's website and downloaded, I guess I must have downloaded the computer version versus the iPad version. Because I don't remember going to the App Store to download it, or maybe I did.
You did. You did. It would figure out what you're doing. It would just do it for you. No, I'm serious. I've done this enough times. Yeah.
It's smarter than we are.
Well, I don't know about that.
Dead silence.
Yeah.
Ronald, can I make a suggestion for you? I notice your face is very dark and you've got a lot of windows in the background that are burned up there. What's happening is that the light meter for your camera is reading that bright sunlight and making your face dark. As an experiment, you might want to close the shades on those windows, and something tells me that you'll be able to see your face a little bit better.
Well, you don't really have to see my face. I close it down halfway just before starting. Want me to close it down the rest of the way?
I don't have that. I'll have to send that to myself. Hang on.
Well, where's the questions in the meantime? Anybody got any?
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves while I'm trying a couple of things here.
Yeah,
your video's stuttering once in a while.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
What are you doing, Greg?
I'm trying to see if I can get this to come up on my iPhone. I had made a change to this and see if that works. Here we go.
Is Greg's video the only one that's stuttering?
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't look like anybody else's is.
No.
Okay, I have a question, Greg. I sent your email, didn't get a response. I've been having some problems trying to transfer photos from the back to the iPhone because I want to transfer just about everything out, but I want to be able to have the option of bringing them back to the iPhone from the computer. So I download through iTunes, of course.
Bill, can you hang on Ron, can you hang on just a second? Okay, Bonnie, let me answer this one question. Okay, now I'm looking at it on my iPhone here right now, such as it is. All right, and down there at the bottom of the iPhone. So you see me as the main screen talking right now, correct?
Right.
And then you also see a little miniature of yourself down there in the lower right.
Yes.
Okay. Now you also see down there at the bottom, there's dots. You see those dots?
Yep.
Scroll the picture to the left.
Okay.
That's actually the gallery view as you scroll through that. That's clever. And that's kind of neat the way that works. So you can scroll through all the people. I don't think that feature exists on the iPad. So you can scroll through.
Greg, I can get 9 more people.
By scrolling the picture to the left or the right?
Yeah.
That's good.
See, so it does do that. And that was something I didn't know that it did. Okay, that's new. So I would imagine who's ever the person talking, because as I'm talking right now, I'm still in the upper left-hand corner.
Right.
And then probably the most recent people talking, I guess I need to get my phone away from my hand away from the camera. And then it's probably my face will stay there since the person talking is probably always in the gallery view, and the 3 most recent people, no matter which one of those 4 images you scrolled to. So that's kind of clever. Does that make sense, Bonnie?
Well, when I scroll, it gives my picture stays there and everybody else changes.
That's true. You'll always be in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah.
But then the person talking will be highlighted in green, but not necessarily.
No.
They'll be on the first of 4 pages. So like I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But then if you scroll, you see everybody else. So on that first page, you can see yourself and who's ever speaking. And on the other pages, it's just everybody else.
Right.
Okay, well, that's new. I'll have to remember that one. I'll see about making something like that up. Okay, sorry, Ron. I just wanted to get that before I forgot it, Ron. So go ahead. Oh, hey, mute your microphones, everybody. Ron, you go ahead. But a basic web search might not give you the full story. Somebody's got TV or something playing in the background we can't hear. Mute your microphones, please.
I thought you could do it, Greg. I thought you could mute everybody.
Okay, whoever.
Greg, can't you mute
Yes,
everybody?
I can. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Trying to remember where I do it at.
Welcome to my dice game. You know what they say, Ellen and dice make every...
Greg, are you going to get the photo?
Okay, Ron, let's get back to your question. Sorry, and yes, I will get to the photo thing in just a few minutes.
I see you have unmuted me.
Yes, sorry about that. If you've got other sound going, like one time I had the gardeners out here or whatever it is, it's better if either you don't talk or just mute yourself until you need to talk, okay? So it just makes it easier for all of us to understand you. So go ahead, Ron, you had your question you were talking about?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have my landline sitting right here, and it just went off, and I didn't know if my wife's going to pick it up or not, but I had muted myself at that point, so fortunately you didn't hear that. So please, everyone, mute so Greg doesn't have to.
I figure 3 or 4 years from now we'll have this all figured out.
Anyway, okay, transfer of photos from the computer, which have been transferred from the iPhone. I want to transfer all the photos, otherwise I can't download the latest, which is 10.3.3 of iOS.
Okay.
But I found that I couldn't do it either by AirDrop or through iPhone or through iTunes, which you're supposed to be able to do manually, but it wouldn't do that on the computer I'm using here, which is El Capitan, and it's on Mac Mini 2011. AirDrop won't work with it. but my newer one upstairs, which runs on Sierra's latest, right?
Sierra's the current one, yes.
Yeah, and AirDrop works with it. I figured out how to do that, but it still would not transfer manually. I'm really not a fan of going into iCloud if I don't have to, but is it true that with some models or because of the age, AirDrop doesn't work?
You know, there is some limitations there, but I'm not exactly, I'd have to go do a little research. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, yesterday I was trying to get something off my wife's computer. I'm connected up through Apple's remote desktop, which is a $300 application. And I couldn't figure out how to get a document, a PDF from her computer back to my computer. Now that sounds stupid since I'm physically running her computer from my computer in the first place. I know I can do it. I've done it before. I couldn't figure out how to do it with AirDrop or even with Apple Remote Desktop because I hadn't done it in such a long time. I finally just emailed it to myself, and it was just faster by the time rather than screwing around with it. Yes.
What I have done in the past, if you go to the Go menu, what I do with my wife is I would go to the Go menu to the bottom and say, go to browse servers or something. And then hers would show up. I'd click on that. And then it would give me her hard drives, you know, first screen. And I would go to her desktop folder in her user folder and just drag and drop the document I want to give back to her. You know, she'll send something to me on an email or whatever, because she's not as technical as my son and I. And so what happens is they I was able to drop it on her desktop, and she'd see that it's right there and it's separate and all that stuff. So it works out real well. So you should try just simple the Go menu.
Greg, I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I do, I just VNC into my computers. In other words, do a screen share, and you can drag and drop right on the desktop.
I know it. I could have done that with Apple Remote Desktop too, and I just had a senior moment, Frank, for whatever reason, and couldn't figure out, as lame as it was. So Ron, yes, it can be done. There's a couple. In fact, I've learned a couple of caveats with AirDrop. AirDrop, if it shows up on your iPhone or on your computer as an option, it should work regardless of the operating system. If it shows up, there's a trick on the Mac. It's not so much of an issue. In fact, let me go ahead and share my desktop so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll watch it. It'll make a liar out of me, and it won't work. Okay, so I'm going to go into a Finder window, and I've selected Can you see this over here? I've selected AirDrop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see down here where the pointer's at, it says allow me to be discovered by everyone or don't see who you're looking for. All right, I'm going to click on that button right there. And I'll say either contacts only or since I interactively turn this off and on, and I'll explain why in a moment, I'll leave it selected as everyone. Now I'm going to go to my iPhone and I'm going to open up a photo. Or let's see, I'm just going to open up some kind of a file here. Hang on a second here. Okay, and let's say I want to share this. So I've got a photo here on my iPhone, and I'm going to share it. I'm going to click the share, and I'm going to select AirDrop. And come on, do something. And I'm not getting that option to show up. How about that? Now, I don't know if that might be something unique to this or not. Let me go back, and maybe it's because it's not my photo. That might have some bearing on it. Oh, what an idiot. Helps if you're brighter than a light bulb.
I love it when you go to the weather app on your phone and you select the city you're in and it says showers and it's dry as a bone outside.
Well, damn, I'm not getting it to work, Ron, right now either. I'm going to have to play with this a little bit. I do know I don't leave AirDrop running on the iPhone all the time, and I'll tell you why. It is a big power hog. So I go into Control Panel, you know, scroll up from the bottom on my iPhone, and I'll turn AirDrop on, and normally I can send stuff back and forth without an issue, and for whatever reason, it's not working right now. So I've obviously got something wonky here. I'll have to play with that and figure it out, and then I'll document it and get it to you.
I just saw a picture of you come up on the screen, just temporarily.
Me?
Yeah. Huh. No. I mean a small little round icon.
Well, that's what it should do. That's what it should do. You're right. That's what it actually should do.
Oh,
so it should show.
It came up and then it went away.
It did. Okay. Well, let me turn this back on. Maybe it was working, and maybe I'm just too damn eager. That might be what it is. I usually say everyone. So, okay, on my iPhone at the moment, it's on. You're still seeing there we go. You see me there? I'm probably not. Am I sharing this out? No, I'm not. Hang on. Need about 5 hands to do all this. Okay, you see it now right there? Do you see my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, so now with that turned on, I should be able to go into Photos, select a photo, and click on AirDrop, and it's still not working.
It's a nice childhood photo, though, Greg.
I'll be damned.
I was just looking in close at Greg's little iPhone picture. And it's like dark hair, no beard.
Yeah, that's back in the good days, I guess.
Yeah. God, I can't believe it. You know, you go back and you look at an old photo and you say, it couldn't have been that long ago.
Well, I can't transfer stuff this way either. It's as soon as I select a photo, it shows up. The AirDrop option shows up as one of the sharing options, but when I touch it, nothing happens.
Well, it's probably got a interaction with the program we're using and everything.
Yeah, it could be. Oh, there we go. Well, that took forever. Finally, eventually, it showed up on my iPhone. My picture down here as well, so it's recognized it, and now I can touch it. So I guess what I'm saying, Ron, is if it's working properly, AirDrop has to be turned on both. Like I said, I usually use everyone because it's faster than contact. But I don't leave it on all the time because I don't want anybody necessarily looking at this. And on an iPad and an iPhone, it's a real pig because it's constantly polling for stuff. As soon as my Mac showed up on the iPhone, it let me send the file to it.
Yeah, I understand that. The problem is that upstairs it works. Downstairs, I don't even.
It doesn't.
That little concentric circle one.
Okay. Well, you got me. You and I need to talk offline off that one. I'll see if I can't figure out something that we can get some consistency out of it.
The other half of it is I should be able to manually drop through iTunes, but that doesn't work with either computer.
Oh, no, that is strange. I've had things like that happen before too, and I'm not exactly sure what that one was. Okay, all right. Well, we'll work on. I'll make a note of that one, Ron. We'll figure out the better way of doing it to get it to work every time. There's always a way. There's always a way on a Mac to get it to work. It just may not be very intuitive.
And it may be possibly that this is a 5S. Yes, I'm going to upgrade to a 7 or 8 when they come, new ones come out, and it is full. So,
It really, again, it shouldn't really be a problem because if AirDrop shows up in the control panel on your 5S, which is this operating system, and the 5S should be late enough that it should work. It should work. That's it. It should just work. The logic behind it is if the option is there, it should work.
Okay.
That's the logic. Let's put it that way. Okay, before I was talking earlier about Microsoft Word, and for those of you who might get into a situation where they need an alternative to Word, I'm going to go back and share my desktop again. And then I'm going to get to where I can go over here and hide this temporarily. And I went ahead and I downloaded openoffice.org, and it's handled by Apache, and it's a freebie, and you can download this program. And I'm going to go ahead and can you see my desktop? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see right here, it's showing me OpenOffice, and you literally just drag it over here to the application folder. And it says right there, it says already exists. I'm going to go ahead and replace it because that may be an old version, whatever. Okay, now this is one of the programs, and of course it's not going to do it right now, but this is one of the programs that by default, when you go to install OpenOffice, it hasn't met Apple's quote unquote blessed list, which means you may get an error message that says this application cannot be installed. And if you do get that message with this or any other application, go into System Preferences, go to Security and Privacy, and you'll see this option here where it says Allow apps to be loaded down, to be downloaded from. It would come up and say OpenOffice would show up right here if that was the case, and you could click OK. You may have to unlock it, but you could click OK, and that would bless the operation. That would allow you to install that. Doesn't mean Apple sanctioned on it, but a lot of third-party software like GIMP is another one that's that way. The first time you go to install GIMP or download it, it'll let you download, but the first time you go to install it, you may get it to come up and say, this is not a authorized Apple quote blessed application from this developer, because it's from a community of developers like a lot of free software is, and you have to approve it here in the security and privacy thing. OpenOffice is a pretty safe bet. Stuff from Apache is a pretty safe bet. Now, once you've got it installed and you go to run it, and I'll go over this real quickly, and you go to run it, okay, here we are. So see, right now it's telling me, it let me install it, but it won't let me run it. So now when I go back over here to System Preferences, it's probably going to have something in there about it. And there we are. You can see it added it right down here. OpenOffice was blocked from opening because it's not from an identified developer. Open anyway. And I'm going to go ahead and open it. And it probably wants me to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There we go. And now I've got the welcome, and I can go ahead next. And yeah, whatever. You could put Floyd or Sam or Pete or Chandler. It wouldn't make any difference. It would install it. Okay. Now, when you go to normally open OpenOffice, let me go back and do this again. So now when you go to use OpenOffice, the nice thing is it's only one icon if you want to put it in your dock. It only sucks up one icon slot. Text document, for all practical purposes, that's Microsoft Word. Spreadsheet, for all practical purposes, that's Excel. Presentation, that's PowerPoint. Drawing, that's would be similar to like Claris, well, not so much like Claris Draw, but Mac Draw or Microsoft used to make a draw program. Database, this is similar to Microsoft Project. Formula, this would be an extension to like the macros capability or the macros capability of Excel. And then finally, they've got a whole bunch of templates. So if I come over here and I'm going to go ahead and say text document, and I'm going to go ahead and click it, and I'll expand this window here. After you use it a little bit, you get the hang of it. But it's the nice thing is it's just all these menus. A lot of this is customizable as far as what you want to see, customized toolbar or whatever it is. This will open and save Microsoft Word documents, the latest version that I'm aware of. It will the spreadsheet portion of it will open and save Excel documents, the latest version. Yes, Numbers will do that as well. So you've got a free alternative to Microsoft Office. If your Office gets to a point where it's not working, consider OpenOffice. There's other alternatives out there. I'll do a whole section on this here in another month or so. But do we want to save it? Nope, don't want to save it. But that's an alternative. There's another one out there called Star Office, and Star Office was made by way back when Microsoft and Sun Microsystems were going to have a collaboration, and then Microsoft decided to stick it to Sun Microsystems a little bit. Sun Microsystems took and created what they call Star Office. It's about $40. It's essentially OpenOffice with some enhancements in it. I don't think it's worth the $40. I really don't.
Greg?
But yes, go ahead.
There's also an offshoot of OpenOffice called LibreOffice.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I've never tried it, but I've seen that one.
There are less bugs in LibreOffice than there is in OpenOffice, I found.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is, reading about it, it said that LibreOffice is more about consistently doing updates and fixing bugs than OpenOffice is. Just thought I'd throw that out.
All right. Well, that's good. Okay, I want to go ahead and talk. And you know what? I hate to admit it. When I was coming up with some topics to cover for this month, and I started thinking about, well, the end of summer, I'm going to show you stuff that isn't available until High Sierra comes out. And I didn't even know it was available yet. I thought they were just doing operating system upgrades. What I didn't realize is Apple has snuck in the latest update to Photos. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown on that. And I haven't had a chance to play with it very much, but it looks really good. As soon as it loads here. And there you can do a Google search on High Sierra Photos and 6 Colors, which is Jason Snell, who used to be with Macworld. That's his review of it. MacFun's got a review of it, and iMore doesn't have a review of it yet. But boy, this is sure taking a long time for whatever reason here.
Greg, one other mention when you were talking earlier about being able to open a program and going to the other way of doing it. There's actually a quicker way of opening a program that won't launch. You right-click on it, and then you select Open on it, and that will also open a program that's not allowed to launch automatically.
Open with. Right. Right. In fact, if you select on it, you'll usually get the Open With document with everything that theoretically can open that program up. Okay, let me try this again, guys.
Yeah, you've really got some latency going on.
I had this working great this morning. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Well, right now your video's frozen. I don't even see you moving in the screen.
Well, he's moving very jerky.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said he's got some latency going on.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, what color is your shirt?
Same as your color. A little light. Your shirt's a little lighter than his.
Yeah, I was saying that looks similar to what I'm wearing, a purple.
It's kind of a mauve color.
Greg, your lips are flapping, but we hear nothing.
It's funny. Everybody's working, Greg, smoothly except you.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen all the time. Just every once in a while you lock
Every
up.
once in a while, yeah.
Okay. Give me a moment here. You're back to just seeing your regular screen, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Let me start. Let me see if I can get photos to start up, and then I'll switch back over if that's the case. Sure, that worked fine. Figures.
Of course.
Now, as soon as I start photos up, the audio starts to go squirrely at my end for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, and your photo is just, you are just a still photo right now.
Are you trying to say Greg is a stiff?
No, I'm just saying something's sucking up so much of his internet that he can't move.
Or the resources on his computer are maxed out.
Well, it could be.
We were having problems before the meeting started where just the two of us were on, and we were having problems like this. And then they seemed to, we left the conference and then went back in, and things seemed to resolve themselves for a while.
Okay, I'm going to have to apologize. I can't get photos. As soon as I get photos up and running, this goes squirrely. Now, that may be that it's because it's a preview of iOS, of High Sierra that I'm running. Because I didn't, quite honestly, I had 3 or 4 applications running this morning that I was going to switch back and forth. I'll just tell you about it.
Okay.
Since that's all I can do right now, and hopefully I'll be able to do something next month on it. But because I didn't run across these problems earlier. What Photos has done is, you remember the way iPhotos was? And I remember we had a couple of members that were all bent out of shape when iPhotos disappeared. And Aperture disappeared, because iPhotos used to have the ability to edit with a third-party application. So, like, you could open up your photo, and I like the way Photos works for handling my day-to-day pictures. I really do. For the most part, it works fine. So I'd bring up a photo. Let's say it's a picture of Yosemite, of maybe Half Dome, and I'd open up Half Dome, and then I had an option to edit in application. I could go click on Photoshop. That would leave Photos open, would open up Photoshop. It would load that photo into Photoshop, let me make whatever changes I wanted to. And when I exited out of that photo, when I closed that photo in Photoshop, I went back into Photos, and the updated version from Photoshop was now the new version that was inside of iPhotos. When they dropped iPhotos 3 years ago and came out with Photos, that integration was gone. About a year and a half back, Apple started to add that integration capability back in, but apparently they had an issue with Adobe. What a surprise! And they couldn't get the seamless integration that they wanted to get. So they came up with a third-party workaround. Let's see if I can even show that. I'm going to share my desktop again, see if that goes squirrely. And at least I should be able to show that. So you'd go to System Preferences, and there's a generic option in there called Extensions. In fact, you can see it right there, and I'm going to click that open. And these are third-party Apple and third-party extensions that can be used, like it says, to customize your Mac. Right now, I've got it selected at all. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can also pick it down. Here's third-party extensions that the Mac knows about. Let me word it that way. That will affect actions. In other words, markup and Pixelmator or whatever they're showing being listed here. For photos editing, these are ones that are just strictly for photo editing. At the moment, you can see my affinity ones are turned off. Well, I can turn those back on. Simple as this. Now, interesting enough, I can do this from within inside of Photos as well. All it does is just take me to System Preferences and allow me to turn it back on here. And then, so you can either see all your third-party extensions, or you can break it down by the menu choices that they've got right here. Okay. You may have something, you may never use this Core Sync helper. You can turn it off, and that way you'll never see it in a drop-down menu or anything like that. Google Drive I have turned off. I can turn that back on, just as simple as that. So you may download a new program like Affinity Photo, or in my case, I was going to demonstrate a demo of Aurora HDR, and I was going to demonstrate a version of Luminar. Luminar is really amazing. And you can see there's Pixelmator, and GIMP is not in here, but that's a good example. I've got GIMP installed on this. So if it doesn't show up here as an extension, let me get back over to, let me stop sharing that, just in case it goes to hell in a handbasket. So the nice thing is, if the company like GIMP as an example, which is a freebie photo editor, if GIMP doesn't have a third-party extension to tie into the Apple's extension option, in other words, show up as part of the menu pick inside of Photos, you'd be able to go over and click on the extensions, click on More, and open the application with. Well, that's been updated in this upcoming version of Photos, which will be released with High Sierra, in that anything that's an editing application will show up there. I wish I could show it. I'm going to have to make it worst case scenario. I guess I could do some screenshots.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. Ask the question.
How does Affinity work with High Sierra?
Seems to work okay.
Are there any links or things in there that we need to know about?
You know right away. Now, it's probably this version of Photos, because I just got this here in the last few days with one of the most recent updates. Yeah. But 2 months ago or 3 months ago or whatever it was, I did a demo of Affinity Photo with the existing Photos and with regular Sierra, and everything worked like a champ. In fact, a half a dozen or so of our members went out and got it while the deal was still there. I don't know if they're still offering $40 or not. For $40, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And if you want the integration to be seamless, you just go to that extension manager there in System Preferences and just enable it. And now those options pop up inside there. And I think it works really good. It's a little slow loading it the very first time, but once it's up and running, you're good to go. Cool. But now you'll be able to, if you've still got Photoshop, or if you've got Pixelmator, or if you've got GIMP, if you've got Photo Elements, if you've got any other editing applications, and whether it be one that we've never heard of, or if it at least has if it at least has the open with that we were talking about, Frank, if it was one of those that you could manually open that photo with that holding down the control key or right mouse clicking open with, you'll be able to do that from within the new Photos by just clicking on the extensions button to move into another into another application. And besides those choices you had before, where you could scroll down and pick Affinity Photo or pick Aurora or whatever it is, there's an open with inside there, or open application, and you click on that open application, and everything that's editable that could edit that photo will be in that list. And you can scroll through that list and pick Photoshop or Elements or GIMP or wherever you want, and boom, it transfers that image right into it. So this is even better than what iPhoto was in its days of being able to do that. So that's a big plus for us that want to, once in a blue moon, get in and use a third-party application to fix a specific problem. One of the things I really liked about this Luminar, and I really wanted to show it, is it's got, Affinity has it in a couple of things, but Luminar is sort of like Apple's Photo Enhance on steroids. And I mean that. You can go through there and you can pick, it's a little on the dull side, so I want it to be brighter. It's a little too bright, I want it to be darker. And then when you click on that preset, then you get 0 to 100% adjustment, and you can slide it back and forth, and you've got two options to see the effect. You can click on you see the effect on your image that you're looking at, and you can click the eyeball, and that takes it back to the way it was. As soon as you let go of the mouse button, it's back to what it's going to be. Or you can bring up the 50-50 slider and slide it back and forth and see whether it looks better on the left side or the right side. Go back and make an adjustment, slide it back and forth, see if it looks better on the left side or the right side again. That's really cool, and that feature works with every one of their options, where it only works with certain things in Affinity. So that was one that I ran across. It's a demo that I've got of it. I know the demo's working because I just launched it for the first time a couple of days ago to play with it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had 3 or 4 photo applications running this morning, but I didn't have Zoom running. So it's obviously with one of these previews, it's obviously some kind of a hack right now that it just doesn't seem to like it, and I'll have to really experiment with it a little bit before I do this the next time. So I may call John, or I may call somebody else to be active so I can see whether it's going to work.
Sure, you can call me.
Before we waste the time with the group. So yeah. I apologize for that. I thought for sure it was going to work.
Hey.
And it looked really cool. It really did.
Greg, what was the name of that program again? Do you know what it cost? And also, how does it have like affinity where when you're like trying to paint out a telephone line that will actually keep
no. I don't think it has that capability. I think it's designed strictly from a photo enhancement standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks to me like it has filtering, it has contrast, it has, it may have that, and I know if I bring it up right now, it's going to fail on me. So because we're doing this, so I didn't get that far into it. I was looking more for. I still like Affinity for its magic brush, if we want to call it that, or its paint or swap or whatever you want to call it. I still like it for that. But I thought, you know what? Sometimes you just bring a picture up and you look at it and say, wow, this looks good. I wonder what it would look like if I could enhance it. And I don't know how many times I do it. I almost always click the photo enhance option inside of Photos just to see what it does. And sometimes I like the effect, sometimes I don't. At least you have the ability to go back, and of course you're working on a copy of the photo always. You've always got the original that you can revert back to at a later time. So you can always save your new version as an updated version and then bring the old one back if you want to.
Sure.
Will this allow you to work in RAW?
Yes, it does do that. And this one and the other one called Aurora HDR, one of the reasons why I wanted to show that's a demo version of that. It's about $100. Aurora HDR, if you're doing a lot with the, I forget what the HDR stands for, high definition raw photo, something like that, I think is what it stands for.
It's high dynamic range.
High dynamic range. I should remember that.
Right, yeah.
One of the things that it has is it has the ability to take an existing photo that doesn't have high dynamic range and create that. So the only thing I can think is that I guess you could look at it. You could take a static picture and think of it as, well, I'd like to have this picture lighter, but I'd like to also have it picture darker. And what it does is it generates multiple versions of a non-HDR image and creates an HDR image of it, so that you can manipulate it like you would a true HDR image. So I thought that might be kind of interesting to play with, but I haven't done much with it yet. But I thought, well, I'll demo that this morning too. Shoot. Well, other than that, since everything else is failing, let's see.
Well, I had a quick question on it. It does. You still keep an original of the photo.
You always keep if you're working directly inside of from Photos. So if you open these up within Photos, your original is always there, and you're working on a copy. And when you save it, you're saving the copy because you can always revert back to the original. Now the original won't show up in your library; it's just there. So what you've got to do is, if you want both of them, Frank, you've got to save it as a different name, and then revert the one. Or what I do is I do a duplicate.
Right.
I just make a duplicate and revert one of those back.
Gotcha. I just wanted to ask and make sure that
If you start it from within Photos, you get that because Photos makes the backup copy.
Oh, okay.
What I do in terms of editing photos, of course, I'm using Lightroom and Photoshop for everything these days.
Well, now within inside of Photos, you'll be able to go right into Lightroom.
Right.
Within Photos.
Right. But what I do is I keep, and I learned this in this class I took, I have a structure for my files. And I have a top level file that's labeled with what the event is and the date. And within it, I have 3 files. One file is for RAW, and that's where I download everything into that RAW file folder. And that file folder never gets touched. Then I have a second one that's called Working, and that's where I have all of those files when I'm actually doing my edits and so forth. Everything goes in there. And then I have a third file that's called Final. And the final, usually a JPEG, could be a TIFF, the finalized file with all the edits and everything goes into that final file. And that's how I organize everything. And it works very well.
That's clever. Well, one of the things that I noticed in the new photos option that it's got is they've added curves to it. So as you're looking, when you go into the adjust, you have full curves and previews of what it's going to look like. So they've done a nice job on that. They've refined their retouching tool, so they're a lot more intuitive. Boy, it's hard to remember all this. It now has the ability, when you're in the edit mode, to bring up the information on the screen, and if it's got a face, if it's in the faces database, or the faces database, they improved that a lot. The way that's displayed. Remember, it used to have them stupid little round circular pictures. Well, now everybody's name shows up as like a stack of pictures that we're looking at right here. And let's say, as an example, I'm looking at Bart Pulverman. He's in the upper left-hand corner. Well, if I click on Bart Pulverman, all the pictures that are Bart Pulverman show up right away, and I can hit the back button. It takes me right back to where I was before. So you can instantly see photos of Bart that were taken at various places on a map display, going by the GPS coordinates, if your camera had that ability. It's got that, so that it's got a lot, it's refined a lot more options for seeing stuff that has taken all these other third-party applications and programs to be able to do this. So plus the ability to get into the other programs. So I like that. So, damn,
Hey, I've got a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, John.
About this OACC Facebook group.
Yeah.
Do any of the vendors anymore offer discounts to something like this so that you could advertise it on there and get people's interest and something like that?
John,
they probably will. Go ahead, Steve.
What I was going to say is, as I was going through the emails that I lost and everything, I came upon the user group ambassador, which I was supposedly
the Apple ambassador.
And yeah,
the Apple user group ambassador.
Yeah. And so they used to mail me these things, and I might be able to go back to another computer in the house that has like my old Mac Pro, and be able to see if I can recover that one of those. And it used to be every month they would give us a new password and thing so that you could access discounts and stuff.
Okay.
I'll put that on my list to do.
Okay, because I think if we can get people coming to that website, not only will they join, be a member, but also if the incentive is there to get a discount on maybe something once in a while, that would help bring people to the website.
Yeah. Now here's one thing Greg and I have worked out is basically right now we are not charging, members who is expired. We're not charging, so we don't gain anything other than their presence on this discussion thing. So, it's not like we're trying to gain members like we used to have to when we were paying the college $450 a month.
But you got an application that you can do about 150 members at a time, right?
100. We're good up to 100 now.
Up to 100, okay. So it would be nice if you had 75 or 80 people on there, and in the process, there'd be something that we could offer them at a discount.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd like to see us. Hang on, Steve. I'd like to see us up around 60 or 70 people on a regular basis. I really would. That would give us some breathing space in case we had a topic that the most we've ever had is when the folks from, and of course this was only our second or third meeting, is when we had the folks from Agile Bits do the 1Password. And I've got 2 or 3 others that have said they'll do a demo for us. We just haven't been able to lock down times yet.
Okay. Well, I'm just
Allison's got one. Allison Sheridan's got one planned. Deb Shadovitz said she'd do one for us.
Mm-hmm.
The folks from either Aurora or Luminar said at some point in time they'll do one for us.
Okay.
I'm sure Microsoft would be glad to do one for us to try to suck some bodies back in, whatever. I look at it from the standpoint, the only thing it costs them is time. That's it. It costs them nothing.
Right.
And the Agile Bits people from 1Password were smart enough. Now, I'll probably hit up LastPass or somebody like that, but not till next year.
Okay.
So I want them separated far enough that we don't have any kind of a conflict, because I want to play and the BE software people who have made all kinds of great stuff. It looks to me like they're going to be able to do one for us. They'll probably take over most of the meeting and do us 15, 20 minutes on this program and 15 or 20 minutes on that program.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It looks like we're going to be able to get that, because they want to expand their business, but they don't want to have to put any travel money into it. Let's face it.
Sure, I understand
and
that.
they were good in the past about giving us a freebie to give away, and the only fair way to do that would be only the people that are actively on at the time that we do the meeting.
So if we can get 65 or 70 people, that would be a very big.
It would be a big draw for them. It really would. Yes. Yep.
Right.
Because the Agile Bits, the 1Password people, they told me they got something like 11 or 12 new people that they never had before. So, and I think even the one I did on Infinity Photos, such as that was, there was a half a dozen or so people that went ahead and signed up for that while we still had it. And that was their, they had reduced the price another $10 or whatever. It was $40 at the time or whatever.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that we'd get Aurora or Luminar folks to do something like that. The MacFun folks to do something like that too, if we can get them to do a presentation with a good enough group. I agree, John. I think that would be excellent for that.
The thing about it is, it's a closed group, which means that they have to be approved.
That's fine. I have nothing against that.
So should I have you do that, or should I do that, or what?
Either way, whatever works out best for you. I mean, the other option, if you want to, right now I'm not disapproving anybody. I just tell anybody who's interested. And what I did on Leo's show was, if you're not sure, go to OACC.org and go to that initial web page and click down there in the lower right corner. Please send me information, or I'd like to join your mailing list. And I get a generic message that says, please add me to your list. I keep those people. I'm using, believe it or not, I'm using mail to send out about 150 of these things. And I as a blind carbon copy when I send it out, and I just select them all and paste it into that. So far, that seems to be working.
Okay.
If it bounces back and it says they're no longer valid, then I take them out of that group.
Right.
Because it's pointless. I can't do anything with it anyway.
So you would recommend that I just on the Facebook group just tell people to go to oacc.com
or whatever works for either way.
I don't necessarily want to give your email out.
No, but you can give out oacc.org. You can always do that one. You can always give that one out. Yeah, and that way I get it. That way I can add them to the contacts list in one step, because that works so slick. I just go up there and say add to contacts, and I open up the contacts and put them in that mailing group.
Okay, so I'll put something out there that says go to oacc.org and go to where's it at now?
It's in the lower right-hand corner of that page.
Right-hand corner of the page.
And it says,
click on that. Tell them you want access to the group and access to the meetings, and you'll get your email.
Yeah, because I'd like us to be at some point in time. I'd like us to be that maybe we do 2 or 3 of these a month, not necessarily Saturday morning. We might do a Wednesday night for an hour on a particular topic. That's only the people who are interested in that topic.
Just on a particular topic.
And not this would be what we're doing right now would be the set date. But then at some point in time, I may send an email out and say, hey, John Foley's got I'll say Tom Mattis. Tom Mattis has got a really good deal on Final Cut Pro. He needs about an hour of our time. For anybody who's interested in high-end movie making or whatever the hell it is.
And it would primarily
Thursday night at 9 p.m. works out for Tom. That's the time to get on. And then then I'd set it up to automatically record it or whatever it is, so we'd have that in our archives for that purpose. But people could watch that were only interested in that kind of thing.
Right.
So for all practical purpose, it would be what we started out way back when as the special interest group, the SIG group.
Yeah. Right.
And we would just on just whatever topics we had more than 1 or 2 people that were interested on. Bart told me something the other day, which was kind of interesting, because I've told you all this link should be our link for here on in.
Okay.
So even though I put it in there every time,
That's okay. It helps.
and at some point in time, we're going to let us rename that link to something better than that.
Okay.
I'd like it to say OACC host or something like that in there,
Sure.
to where we have some kind of intelligence to it.
Yes.
But that doesn't exist yet. But that link is our link. So anybody, if as an example, Bob and Steve and John and Frank want to get together for former members reunion or whatever it is, as long as you don't do it the second Saturday of the month between 9 and noon, I don't care. That's available for you to use. So Bart said, "You sure that's okay?" And I said, "Sure. What the heck? I'm paying for it, whether we're using it or not. Let's face it."
Right.
And
Did
they
you
don't
get
care.
the check?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
And so, consequently, what Bart did, Bart had gotten on with his daughter back on the East Coast, or I forget where Rachel's located at. And the only thing he couldn't get to work is he couldn't get the recording feature to work. Well, apparently I know I have that feature turned on in the profile, but apparently it requires me to be online as well to be able to do it.
Oh, my.
Which is weird. I've got to talk to them about that. However, what people don't realize is you can always open up QuickTime and you can do a screen recording in QuickTime. And as long as it's not something that's licensed, like a movie or something like that you're playing, like a Netflix show or whatever, Apple will record anything that's on the screen. So I told Bart to give that a shot. Go start the recording up inside of do a screen recording in QuickTime and then switch over to this. It should be capturing that. I'll test it after the fact when I'm done here to make sure. But that way, he wanted it because it was his granddaughter. She was practicing ballet or whatever, and the wife was his daughter was going to show some video on the screen that he could have a copy of. Well, that'd be great. That'd be perfect for that. So I see no reason why we shouldn't be using this for every idea we possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, we're paying for
folks,
it. And
we are paying
and
for it.
good.
And they don't care. I asked them about this once before, and they said, no, we don't care. It doesn't cost us anything,
Right.
I mean, this thing that you found, Greg, you took the bulls by the horns and you evaluated the different.
Well, I got to give props to my friend Bruce out in the valley, because he's been using this on his business. He was the one that came up with it, and we had him on one of our test sessions. So
right, I remember him. But this thing has been valuable. I mean, it's just been very, very smooth and clear, and it's basically like like I said, I'm in Seattle, Bob's in Albuquerque, and let's see who else is here. The rest of the people are in Orange
John's
County.
in Kingman, Arizona.
Who? Oh,
Kingman,
John?
Arizona.
You?
Yeah.
See, so
that's in Flagstaff.
We can all get together.
No. Kingman.
Or three of them.
West side, not east side.
You just wanted to be near Route 66 so you could remember where you live.
That's right.
Greg,
well, we'll come out and visit you now. We'll have the ability to do that here in another month or so.
Yeah,
okay.
But 66 is age or IQ.
Greg, I want to offer some suggestions.
Go ahead.
Greg, this is a wonderful, good old boys and girls club. And I enjoy seeing everybody's faces that I remember from my many years with OACC in Orange County.
Actually, Greg, Greg, I didn't tell you this, but everybody might find it funny. What was going on was my granddaughter had just started to walk. She's 1 year old. Her birthday was, we were back there 2 weeks ago for her first birthday. And what we were trying to do is get pictures, video of her walking. So what was happening was my daughter Rachel, by the way, they're in Delaware. She had the baby, and I was at the screen going like this, "Come on, Dana, come on." And the baby was responding to me on her computer screen.
Oh, that's great.
And that's what we're trying to get pictures of. Well, the way we finally solved the problem, she put her cell phone on her computer screen, so it was pointed at the baby, and the baby could see me doing this, and we got 4 steps out of her. By the way, there's what was it that I wanted to ask you about? slipped my mind. I'll cut in.
Okay, hang on. Go ahead, Bob.
I just want to chat about your goals of adding more people to this forum, which is a great idea. But I find that some of our people here who have joined up on the various audio visual meetings, they really enjoyed the Angel Bits meeting and your Affinity meeting, but then the other meetings just wander around and the discussion goes off into subjects that are not Mac related or similarly related. And I think when you're bringing in new people, you have to remember that we're dealing with intermediate to novice users in many cases, and they're going to get scared away with all this techie talk and wandering conversations and no formal structure. I think if you're going to have a successful user group meeting, yes, you have a Q&A session, but it needs to be focused. And you need, if you're going to have a presentation, it needs to go off on time or reasonably on time, or people get discouraged and drop out. Some of our people have already dropped out because they don't understand what you're talking about to begin with in many cases. And like wondering about or talking about somebody's home security system, which is to me an offline discussion you have with that person.
Well, Bob, I think it might be a good idea when Greg sends out the announcement that we have 3 hours to work with, and that would give us time for question and answers, a presentation, and you know, something else for the last hour. And but you know, it's 36 years I've been doing this club, and it's not easy to get things, and the technology has changed so much over those 36 years that nothing seems to, you know, like when we had the club at the Orange Coast College, we had it separated by hours, and there was times my wife didn't even realize that my Saturdays were 7 o'clock till 4 o'clock when we had the Apple IIs and Macs on one day. So, you know, yeah, a schedule or a list of times and what's going to be presented or what is going to be available to them. Like, I'm going to try and get a hold of Robert earlier than the same day, because usually I've usually contacted him the last week and said, oh, excuse me, I got a call, hang on, it's my wife.
Oh, Bob, I think you're right, and I think I'll do my best to try to do that. Now, here's what I need help from everybody else. I don't want to do everything. Quite honestly, I have a little bit of a life, not a whole bunch, but I have a little bit of a life. So think about this, guys. Think about it from this standpoint, and gals, anybody who's listening. If there's something that you do that you feel comfortable doing, mention it to me in an email or whatever it is, and let's get you to talk 15, 20, 30 minutes about it. And for the next meeting, Bob, I will break it down in that from 9 to 9:30 is getting acquainted, and from 9:30 to such and such is this, and from 10 to 11. That way, if people just want to get on for that hour, they can. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And then we leave all the baloney questions or whatever till the noon-ish time frame, so that people who got other things to do can go. But if you just want to jab and whatever, because we can stay on as long as we want to throughout the day. We've only just picked the 3 hours because that's what we want. And I think you're right, Bob. I think that makes more sense to do it that way. Do you agree?
Yeah, the formal meeting could be 2 hours long. That's plenty of time for most people.
I think so. And then have a Q&A, just a general purpose Q&A or whatever it is from noon on. And when we just get tired of talking, we just goodbye, and that's it.
Well,
and go with that. And then I'll break the videos on YouTube up based on that as well.
What we do in our user group is have a 2-hour session on the third Saturday every month, and the first hour is devoted to questions and answers, and the second hour is devoted to a presentation of some sort. And there's so many things about the Mac that people don't know or don't understand how to use. That we have never run out of a subject yet without having to go out and bring in outside presenters. Which is
well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So let's plan from this point on, our next meeting, our October meeting from 9 to 10 will be a regular, a structured Q&A. Hopefully it'll be questions that people have sent in to me or somebody else, so we don't have to think about it at the time, you know, problems that they're having or whatever it is. At 10 o'clock, there'll be a presentation. Possibly at 11 o'clock, there'll be a second presentation. As it is right now in my mind, I've got two in mind. And then from noon on can just be open to just shoot the breeze about what I did last summer, or I went on my vacation, if you guys get a chance to do this. But that way it gives people an opportunity to get on and see what they want to at the time frame that works out for them. Does that make sense?
Yes, and the biggest thing is that you do it periodically is you segue to the actual screen where we can see the operating system or your Infinity photos or whatever you were.
Right.
And demonstrating, actual demonstration of the pit.
No, I think that's essential, Bob. I think that's something we have to definitely do.
Yeah. And let me ask a question too. As long as I've been here, there's been a very strong focus on photos and photo editing and stuff. But there's so many other things out there that people who are coming to us would like to find out about. You know, what's the best Apple computer to buy for my uses? What's a good, well, like I say, Open Office, for instance. You can tell them about Open Office because nobody wants to pay the prices that Microsoft wants to charge.
And Neo Office, I was trying to figure out when Greg was talking about the Open Office and stuff. The other one, I thought Neo Office was made by Sun.
Well, let me
Microsystem.
It was called Star Office.
The compliment what John's talking about. Let me just throw a couple things in. Suppose you were demonstrating how to use the view menu. You say, well, that's so freaking simple. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of features in the three buttons, the quick look, all the different facets of a window, for example, that a lot of people don't understand and don't know about it, particularly those that came from Windows. And for example, again, how many people know how to use the ins and outs of mission control and hot corners? I go on and on. There's an endless number of subjects.
Okay, it still boils down to, I don't want to do it all myself, guys.
That's the thing that
first, I'll give you an example. I don't use mission control at all. Believe it or not, it's only recently that I've switched over to using a dark colored menu. That took me a long time to get past that stumbling block. And I still have a hard time with full screen. Now I switch back and forth between full screen, versus seeing the menu bar across the top, because sometimes that's a little buggy for my personal taste, but I'm getting there. But I've never used mission control, probably because I'm an old school Mac guy and just came from the old ways of doing it. So we need to find other people who are willing, who feel comfortable, their comfort zone about, let's say, if I'll say, for example, maybe Mario uses mission control and feels comfortable. It's just a suggestion, Mario. And Mario uses mission control and he feels comfortable about it, to give us 10 or 15 minutes on it or whatever, how it actually in fact works. We need to get other people to participate to make this a group overall.
Well, that's the whole thing, Greg. When I would ask when we were over at the little office over there, and I remember every meeting I'd say, what do you guys want to hear? What do you guys want to know about? And all I got was blank stares. Okay. And the thing is if you have the interest enough to spend the 3 hours or 2 hours, whatever, out of your day, you got to give back, because the thing is other than that, we're just doing a dog and pony show. And we're not doing this to entertain people. We're doing for exchange of knowledge.
Now you ask somebody a question and they don't know the answer, so they can't give you any information.
No, Bob, but like you're making a suggestion about things we can do. Send Greg or I a list of ideas and stuff. That's all we're asking. You don't have to make a presentation if you don't like to. But the thing is, I've had Frank could do a tech talk. Bart can do a tech talk, and things like that. Because the thing is you know, I had dark hair and I was younger and all that. And the thing is now that we've done this so long, if people are interested in keeping this going, and we're paid up for a year now.
I already have the list you want that we share among ourselves, 2 pages long of different ideas. So we have different presenters that can give whatever they want to talk about.
Right. And what would be really cool, Bob, is if there was a way that on the day that you run yours, that you can tie us in somehow to be able to see your general meeting, things like that. That would be really cool.
Or record it, Bob. If
Yeah.
you can screen record it or something like that, and either put it up at YouTube or send me a link that I can. I mean, you can even transfer them over messages. Believe it or not, it'll take any size file. It doesn't care. So that I get an idea how your structure is laid out.
You know, one thing that you ought to do is assemble a master list and then make sure that everybody, maybe email, because that way we're sure everybody gets the master list, a master list of topics, and then basically get everybody be responsible to take one of those topics. Certainly there's something that everybody has a little knowledge on and can do a little research on if they don't have all that much knowledge. And then that way everybody would have something to do some sort of presentation on.
Well, Bart, you know, with the advent of the iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac itself, I think that if somebody knows how to just make them all connect, that would be a good topic right there. That would take an hour maybe to set it up so that when you add a person to your iPhone, that it adds it to your iPad and your computer. Things like that would be a perfect topic, because, you know, I've been getting so busy with things trying to keep up, and then I fall down on the fact that I haven't spent the time to research how to do that. And I think that it would be interesting to many people. Sure, not everybody like Mario over there is going to fall asleep.
Well, one thing if any of us are doing a presentation, Greg, and you're quite familiar with using this Zoom as a host. I'm not familiar with using it as a host. And
easy, Bob. If you have my PDFs, you can pretty much figure it out.
Well, I got to run, but I'm going to send you that list to you.
That'd be great.
Good.
Okay. Over now.
And I'll make a list and send it to you too.
That would be great. And here's what I can do. First off, I'm putting it into notes right now for future meetings. I'm going to make a list of the applications that I own or have on my Mac that I think would be of any value, and I'll email that out to everybody. Hopefully somebody will bob it. Usually what happens is I'll send it out to 100 people and I'll get back 10 responses. But I'll try to do it in such a way that all they got to do is highlight it or check it or whatever the hell it is, stuff that they'd like to see, that we can finalize it down into maybe 10 or 15 topics for the next few months or whatever it is, and pick those specifically, because I can only do the software that I physically have or own myself, or can get a demo of, because there's no way I'm going to spend money out of my pocket to go buy something for us all to try. Right. And then be stuck with something I'm not going to use. There's no way I'm going to do that. Yeah. I think we at least do the stuff that we probably all have at the moment.
Or that we're knowledgeable on. Whoever's going to send Greg a list, would they copy me also?
Greg, can I suggest that?
Bart, wait a second.
Okay.
One thing people have got to remember also, we do not have the mail list anymore with our company that is supporting our website, and we haven't bothered to find any replacement yet. So do not send it to Steve at OACC or Greg at OACC. That's dead. Okay. The only thing that works is, you can access the website at oacc.org, but all of the things like president and treasurer and all that stuff, you can't access us. That's why, Greg, I've got to, remember you told me about those people that paid through PayPal?
Right.
Well, what happens is, if I'm going to refund their money, I've got to be able to, because it was set up for a treasurer at oacc.org, and I've got to get with them and change that so that I can refund their money, because I can't get to them. I'll just leave it, sweetie. Okay. Because the reason I didn't know that we had gotten anybody joining was because that they would send the information about what PayPal had received to the treasurer at oacc.org, which is not active. So anyway, so if you can send me whatever you send Greg on the list, and Greg and I can talk about, then we will work about this. Because the thing is coming into a meeting and having no idea of what we're going to talk about, answering questions. God, Greg and I and a few other people, Frank's been answering questions and stuff. It's great, but we've got to have something that's really something that everybody could use, some knowledge that somebody can use, or a new application that's available that they can do their on their computer. So anyway, enough said.
I got to wrap.
Okay.
I'll see you later.
Greg, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Take care, Bob.
If we're using Zoom, okay, I just clicked on the record button and it says please request permission from the host.
I don't know how to. I got to call him about that, because Frank, I think I had it set up and it's not working apparently.
Yeah. Well,
I got a thing that says it's recording.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah, all that does mean is that it's recording. Greg is the host is in control of all these features.
No, but it was my understanding, Steve, that everybody can record their own copy if they want to. The one I record, really? I put it up at YouTube, because it seems stupid for everybody to have to waste resource and storage or whatever it is if all they want to do is refer to it at a later time. So every time I record these, I try within a couple of days. I was late the last time, but within a couple of days, I try to edit out anything that needs to be edited out, because YouTube won't let me play a commercial or whatever, and then put it up at YouTube so that anybody can watch it if they want to at their own time.
Yeah.
What started?
You know what I will do? Excuse me, real quick. Sorry. What I will do is later today, I'll update the website, take out the PayPal pages and all the pages that are so totally out of date. They just won't be visible to anybody. And I'll fix the meeting video button up there at the top to point to the new location. And at least that front page will be current for all practical purposes.
Yeah, Frank, what really started, because I was talking with Greg about this before the meeting, was when we were trying to record the baby walking. This is where it came up, was I went to try and use the record on it, and it did exactly the same thing that happened to you with a moderator, and it wouldn't let me sign in as the moderator on it. It required some sort of password or something to sign in as the moderator. So that's what started the whole thing. Also, I'd like to make a suggestion here. Instead of sending these lists of suggestions between different people and so forth, how about is there some single point where we could send all the suggestions to, and have someone just compile the list of everything? And
fine, send it to me. No problem. I'll do that.
Okay.
All righty. Yeah, no, my question was on the record though, maybe find out that if you can how you give permission to somebody because
I can't
carry over after this particular one. Will it work in another one that we want to do or so? That was my other thing that you might
we'll figure out a way to do it, Frank, because I know I said in I went and checked the preferences this morning, and it says the ability for everybody else to record is there and it's turned on. Maybe it's just not working in their application, but I'll call them on it.
Right, but that's why I said it comes up and it says I get an indication saying you have to ask the host to get permission. So, I mean,
how do you do that? It didn't say how to do that.
I click on record and it says please request record permission from meeting host. No, and that's what it. But you don't know how to give that permission yet.
No, I don't, because I didn't see that anywhere in the documentation. So, but I'll look.
But then there's the additional thing that I ran into, where if a couple of people get on without Greg there, there's no designated host, and therefore, how do you designate someone as host? Well, the best I could do was come up with a screen that asked for some password that I had no idea what it was. Greg doesn't have any idea what it was, so you're locked out.
Well, I can tell you right away, because I'm the one that set this up originally, that if Frank decides to use this for something else, as soon as anybody gets on using that link, I get an email, regardless, and it'll be whatever your name is. So, like in the case of John if John clicked on the link tomorrow morning at 3 a.m., I'd get an email that would be sent to me at 3:01 or whatever the hell it is. It says, you have been invited to it always says that, you've been invited to a webinar by JMF. And I still, every time I see that, I go click on it. By then they realize, oh, I clicked on this by mistake or whatever. That's why in the emails that I send out, I always say Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I always put that in there because I've had people who weren't in our time zone that would get on at 9 a.m., but it was really 8 a.m. here. And then this morning I was on at like 8:30 or 8:35 or whatever before Bart and I realized we were having problems. Just in case somebody got on, I'd be able to help them out or whatever the hell it is. So I have to figure out a way to be able to get around that. I don't care if they do it. I mean, that's the whole idea behind this. We want to use this and get our $150 a year usage out of it. We want to make sure we get our money's worth out of this. So I'm all for people using this for non-club stuff if they want to. I have nothing against that at all. But I want to see what the technical limitations are as far as if they do want to record it for their own purpose or whatever, that's fine. You're supposed to be able to do that. I mean, one of the options I have is to record it and have it go up record it live at the Zoom website. And I need to try that. Maybe it would take less horsepower on my end, but if it wants to do it simultaneously, unless it's doing it there, I don't want more data traveling up to the website at the same time I'm trying to do this. So that's why it seemed to make more sense and also they have a limited amount of space. So that's why I thought, well, it makes more sense to store it here on my computer than do whatever editing I might have to do and then put it up at YouTube because that's a freebie.
Yep. One other quick question. Remember we used to be able to put a hand up? I can't find that feature, if we wanted to speak.
A
couple of people did it earlier today. Raise hand. I don't think
I
get that option being the.
Yeah, you go
now,
over.
Right there, I just got a message down that Steve raised his hand, and I see it. Do you see it on his image?
Click.
You see when you look at Steve Spiegel, do you see the hand on his image, Frank?
No, I don't.
Okay, so it must only show up at the host.
Guys, no. What you do is at the bottom of the screen, you see where it says participants. You click on that. That brings up the participant screen, and then at the bottom of the participant screen, you'll see like it says raise hand, yes, no, and so forth. You simply click raise hand. Raise hand is a toggle.
There it is. Yeah, I clicked on that and I didn't see it.
Well, it's a very pale colored pastel color instead of bright red or something like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, great. Thanks. I just wanted to check and make sure because I was sitting there clicking on everything trying to find it, and there it was, and I didn't even see it when I clicked on it. So I appreciate that, Bart.
Yeah, I got my hand up now. I did it. How do you get it?
Yeah, and I can lower it.
I can lower it too. That's lowered.
Yeah. Well, me lowering it means I'm acknowledging you. Let's put it that way. So
all right.
I think we got a couple of things we got to get used to, and one is we probably need to get everybody to get in the habit of muting themselves when they first get on, or I'll just mute everybody, and you need to manually unmute when you want to talk, or raise your hand when you want to talk, and I'll say, John, go ahead and talk, because otherwise we have people stepping on each other sometimes.
Well, I agree.
I mean, we did that in the meeting, so it didn't.
We got to get rid of this crosstalk stuff.
Yeah. We'll get it there. We'll get it there.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the problems I have sometimes, just like somebody else ran into. You know, you have something you want to say or a question that you have, and then you're waiting for an area to get in there, and by the time you do it, you forgot it.
That's right.
Well, that's true. So we probably should get in the habit of using the raise hand when you want to speak.
That's why I was
and then me, I guess, or somebody else or whatever, let me say, okay, what'd you have, Frank? Frank's got his hand up or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I thought for sure when you put your hand up, everybody saw that, but apparently you don't.
Well, you know, if you muted everybody, and then if somebody raised their hand, you'd unmute them, or whatever, you know, and let them talk, and then remute them, and somebody else comes on, and we wouldn't have crosstalk.
That's true. Does it show on your screen when you're muted? Does it show?
Yes, it does.
It does. Okay. Mm-hmm. I know it does on mine. It shows a little microphone with a red line through it.
Yeah, mine does too. I'm not muted now. If I click on it and say mute.
Okay, I don't hear you, John, but which is good.
Now the microphones go away, but if you just mouse over it, they all show up.
Oh, okay. All right. Morning, Janine. Nice to see you. You're muted. Okay, now you're on.
Okay. I apologize for being late. I had lots of trouble. My own fault.
Well, nothing has gone smooth today so far. The demos I wanted to do pretty much both failed, because I'm using previews of several applications. So I'll have to see if I can work out the bugs. But I really wanted to show that feature, and it'll have to be tabled for another meeting. So.
Okay, what were you trying to do, and what did you not do? Sorry to
Well, I was going to show the new photos. I wasn't aware that Apple had, in the beta of High Sierra, they had included the new photos in there as well.
Okay.
And I just happened to be looking through it because I wanted to see what else it did. And wow, man, now you can open up like from within Photos, just like you could with iPhoto 3 years ago. You can take a photo that you're in Photos with, let's say of the Capitol building, and go right into Photoshop or to GIMP or any other program you want to, either directly with an extension or open with right inside. That's new. That's being added to it. But as soon as I start Photos up, it screws up big time with Zoom. The sound goes squirrely. We couldn't get anything to work no matter what. Yet it worked fine this morning when Zoom wasn't running. So I assume it's because I'm still running preview software, and that's probably why.
You can give feedback though, I presume, to Apple.
Oh yeah,
about it.
I will to Apple, and I also will to the Zoom folks to let them know.
Okay.
So, but I'm sure they're going to say, well, you are using preview, idiot. What'd you expect? Because sure as hell, when I did something this morning, it locked up the computer, and I haven't had that happen in the last 3 previews. So who knows?
Well, thanks. Thanks for trying.
Well, I got to take off, so we'll see you guys. I'll talk to you sometime this week, Greg, about the...
Sounds good. Sounds good, John.
Thanks.
Have a good week, John.
Thank you.
So Bob Reed just got off a few minutes ago, and he had suggested that we try to structure the meeting more along the lines of what our physical meeting was, which makes sense, and maybe use the 9 to 10 because people are getting on at that time as the open Q&A, and then at 10 start a physical presentation that in the email that I send out says what that presentation is going to be from 10 to 10:30 or 10 to 11 or whatever it is, and from 11 to 12 if there's going to be a different presentation, so that if people just want to get on for that one presentation, they can. And then I will plan on breaking the videos up so that you don't have to wade through 3 hours of crap to get to what you want. You can go right to the one that talked about whatever it was that you wanted to actually see.
And
so
Greg,
I did that with the.
I'm available during the week when you want to test it to make sure that there isn't a conflict with Zoom and stuff like that.
That's good, Steve, because
So,
I will need that. So
yeah.
And I know I can probably bug Frank and Bart about that as well. So
yeah, all these retired guys.
And gals.
Oh, and gals, excuse me.
Thank you.
Well, has anybody got any questions that we can answer, or anything they want to talk about?
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, I had about 4 or 5 days ago, I had a big time reoccurrence of that problem we were working on with the connecting, via the Bluetooth with the trackpad.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it was doing it constantly. It did it for about 36, 40 hours. And the other day, the thing seemed to clear up, and everything's been working fine since then. I'm wondering if
now was there you're talking about the remote trackpad
that's correct.
Okay, I'll tell you something that I ran into. I did a deal with Ron, who was having some real problems with his trackpad. It was just going nuts, and quite a few months back, I got him a new one, because I went to his house and he showed me what it was doing, and I said, oh, this, and we took out and put a brand new one on, and it worked flawlessly. So what I did was I took the old one home, and I says, one of these days I'll look and see what's in these things and stuff. And what I did was the base is glued together and all this double-sided tape and everything. And so what I did was I pulled it apart, and there was nothing much to see, but the thing is there were two little flex circuits that were tied into a connector on the board that, where the touch is picked up. And so I says, well, heck with this, I'll try. And I removed the connectors, checked the gold fingers and stuff, and cleaned them, and then put them back in. And I don't use it every day, but it has worked flawlessly. So, that might be a thing is, if it's doing that, maybe we have to look at that.
Well, if you will recall, when I initially had the problem, I'd taken it over, paired it with my wife's computer, it worked fine, took hers over to my computer, and we had the same sort of thing happen. And I'm wondering if maybe if you'll recall, you researched it and found that I have the separate Bluetooth board in my computer. I'm wondering if that board is flaky.
Oh, or it has to be, let's see, yours running on what kind of computer again? Because I'm not at home.
It's a 27-inch iMac mid-2010.
Okay, so that's the thicker, wider cabinet?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we can take that apart, and we can go in there, and one of two things is either replace that board or just take it and unscrew it, pull it out, check the connections, and plug it back in.
If necessary, do you have a replacement board?
I probably do.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Okay, if nothing else, here's a suggestion, just in quick, in case anybody's, Ron, you too, in case you're having this problem. Sometimes I find if you go into the system preferences, into the Bluetooth settings, disconnect yourself and delete the item out.
Oh, yes.
Remove the item out and then put it back in like it's brand new. Because I've had this Bluetooth mouse get squirrely on me, and no matter what I did, and just getting rid of it completely and then putting it back in, it's like it refreshes the connections or whatever the hell it is.
Well, it just makes it reassigned and everything. And I would say that I remember printers. I'd run into things where you'd have a printer, 2 or 3 printers, and you were having a problem with one, you delete it, and then you'd go search for it, and it would come back on the list, and you'd highlight it and say add, you know, and
Steve,
they made the world a difference.
Steve, as I recall, I think you did that when we had it over at your house.
Yeah. Anything's possible.
How are you doing?
These things, you know, they don't all work the same as far as finding these things that are intermittent. In fact, if I was to look on the back of my old invoices, it spells out to the customer that intermittent problems are impossible to find and there's no warranty. This work or this business, it's really, unless it's there every time, it's flaky. It's really tough to find an intermittent problem.
How are you doing in terms of your health?
Well, here I am. My wife just brought me, because I couldn't get eggs, which I'm not supposed to be eating anyway because it's not vegan. She brought me some shredded beef and some chicken barbecue. But other than that, I've been sticking to the vegan thing, and it's tough. But you know, just trying to find stuff to eat. Like yesterday for vegan, I had breakfast and no bacon and eggs, none of that. Oatmeal. Now I like oatmeal with brown sugar, so you know I'm finding my way around. And lentil soup, Diana made a big thing of lentil soup, and I could have like 4 days lentil soup for lunch or dinner. So, and it's.
But you're feeling okay, Steve? You're feeling okay?
Yeah.
Diagnosis.
What's the diagnosis? Well, here's the thing: is
well, he's still alive, unfortunately, but.
You had a memory problem, didn't you?
Boy, you better watch it, buddy.
A memory problem.
Yes, that is tough. But the thing is that when I got back from Seattle last time, my doctor had me go see a cardiologist, and the cardiologist looked over some of the videos where the guy was running the angioplasty catheter, and he says, this looks like you got a start of another clog here and another clog here. Might be better to do bypass surgery. It's like, so it would take one thing at a time. But when I get back, I've got an echocardiogram, a stress test, and some blood tests. And then, you know, we'll see, have I kept on this diet well enough to lower some of the cholesterol and some of the other things. So we'll see.
Where are you, Steve?
Pardon me?
Where are you?
Oh, I'm in Seattle.
Good. You can come
at the Four Seasons. I'll tell you something. Never go to a place and pay $3.95 for a room in downtown. Yeah. I mean, the place is beautiful. The rooms are nice, but at night, you know, they had little earplugs as you're going to the elevator. They had these little packaged earplugs, and that was all well and good for stuff in the room, but you should hear the traffic and the people on their motorcycles and stuff going by. And I didn't make the reservation, so you know she paid what she paid. But I told her, I said I would pay probably no more than $195 for this room.
Steve, when we were in Seattle, we stayed at the Four Seasons at the airport. And, it was very nice and quiet there. Plus, they have terrific cookies.
The thing is that the wedding is here on Sunday.
Oh,
so this
it makes sense to stay at the hotel for the wedding, just for the convenience.
Yeah, just for convenience.
Steve.
And the cookies.
And the cookies, yes.
Yeah, well, come down through Medford when you come back.
Unfortunately, my dear, I fly. I gave up driving.
We have an international airport here. We do.
It's the Medford International Airport and Hair Care Tire Salon.
Yes.
I've flown into the Medford Airport once when I was in the Air Force. I was flown up there in a top secret U-3A.
Bart,
yeah.
I just remembered. There's a couple that belong to the Beth Met, and their daughter is up here, Jack and Elaine Finkelstein, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know them, so tell them I said hi. Have your wife tell them I said hi.
Okay, let me make a note of that. Jack and Elaine Finkelstein.
Jack and Elaine. And it was funny because I was talking to their daughter, this daughter that came up, and she remembered from years ago that I put in their garage, the Paris garage door opener. It was, it's like, you remember that? Yes.
Steve, no,
Yes,
I was saying, I flew up in this secret U-3A. Does everyone know what a U-3A was or is?
No.
Okay. Does everybody know what a Cessna 310 is or was or is?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a twin engine, for those who don't know airplanes, it's a twin engine, 5-place airplane. Anybody with enough money can go down to a Cessna dealer, or at least at the time could, and buy a Cessna 310. Someone in the Air Force apparently saw we were getting a new airplane and classified it as a secret aircraft. But it was basically in the airport, in the Air Force, it didn't have any sophisticated equipment. In fact, it was a stripped down version that didn't have all of the features of the one that the average person would buy at a Cessna dealership. But anyhow, I was ferried up there from Kingsley Field in Klamath Falls when I was in the Air Force to use their color photo lab up there for some stuff I had to do. So that was my experience with the Medford Airport.
Yeah. Well, the reason Janine asks is because she's been having a problem trying to get some of her network to work correctly for her cameras, security cameras and stuff around the house. And I told her, I won't charge her. I just send me a ticket and I'll come up. I can't bring any tools with me because they won't let them through.
Wouldn't it be cheaper to fly to Medford from Seattle than it would from Los Angeles?
Check on it, Janine.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. I've got that appointment on Wednesday.
I flew the Goodyear blimp in Medford for 36 years consistently.
Really?
And the weather was beautiful that time of the year. But you go up there in the wintertime, I think it rains continuously.
It's not winter right now.
A lot of places are nice certain time of the year. For instance, Florida.
That is one question that I have always asked. Why do people live down there when every year there's been a hurricane? It goes over North Carolina, South Carolina, all that stuff. Why some people live there if they know that it's a dangerous spot, and you see these houses getting flattened and
because when it's beautiful there, it's beautiful.
Yes, I know.
But there's only like 2 weeks out of that year the hurricanes come through.
Well, I was talking to this one guy who suggested, why don't they just say, we're not going to build any more wood frame houses anymore. We're going to do it in concrete. And in Laguna Beach, I couldn't, while we were flying, I couldn't no, we weren't flying. We were driving somewheres. And, it was last night when we were taking the bus to my sister-in-law's house from downtown Seattle, I was talking with the driver as he was driving, and I said, he was the one that commented about the concrete houses. And I said, Laguna Beach has a lot of them now that are, being torn down, and they're building these very artsy kind of houses out of concrete, and they look nice if you can get past the concrete idea.
Yeah, well, I'll reserve my judgment of concrete in Florida till after this earthquake. I mean, after this.
Well, Janine, just to let you know, my wife and I bought a motorhome. We're flying back to Vermont in 3 weeks to pick it up because we bought it's used, but it only has 2,500 miles on it. And then we're driving it back. Well, unfortunately, we have a time constraint is our problem right now, but I'll show you the route that we're taking here.
Yeah.
So you can see on that picture there that it's
well, when
pretty
you get
beefy.
when you get to Sacramento, you turn right.
Well, if we probably won't be able to make it on this initial trip because we have a deadline. The problem is it's costing us $65 a day to store the dogs at a kennel.
Okay.
And so, but 2 Chihuahuas, you think we'd get a better break than that. But
yeah.
But the plan is we're going to try to do a trip once a month at least, somewhere for a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is. That's the plan. Every month or every other month or something like that. And I've got a niece-in-law and a nephew that live just outside of Seattle. So we will definitely come visit you on the way going up there or on the way coming back in this thing.
I love it. That would be fabulous. Yes. I look forward to it.
Greg, can you show that map again?
Sure.
Now, I want everybody to picture this. National Lampoon's Vacation, an overlay of Pac-Man.
I like it. Looks like fun. How long is it going to take you to drive back?
Well, it would normally be about, I think I figured out 44 hours or something like that or whatever.
44 hours. Wow.
Yeah. But we decided, I mean, you can see where we're starting up here at A. That's in northern Vermont where the guy lives in Burlington, Vermont. And he's picking us up at the airport, and we're taking us over to where the RV's at, and we'll get a walkthrough and all that kind of. I've watched the videos and read the manuals multiple times, so I'm pretty sure I understand everything about it. And we're so close, we figured, we're so close on I-95 or whatever the hell it is, on I-80 or I-90, I should say, that we're, if the weather permits and if my walking ability is better and all that kind of baloney, we're going to stop off at Niagara Falls for maybe a few hours or whatever it is. And then since we pretty much go through Chicago, we won't stop probably in Chicago. But one of the other things my wife had requested was she'd really like to see Mount Rushmore. That's what the C location is right here. And then D is probably out. That's where her cousins live. So we may end up coming down, I-15. We may go into Salt Lake and come down I-15 through Vegas or whatever it is. Because the problem is we're not going to have anything with us. Believe it or not, we're flying. I started a medical diet through the hospital that I'm on their dedicated food. So I'm packing my luggage with food for me. So we're flying back there. Marshall will eat out or whatever the hell it is, and I'll just go in with a little, like a Nutrisystem. It's basically along the same lines.
So Greg's going to take, he's gonna pack all that food in his suitcase, and that's what he's going to wear.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to, a couple shirts, couple pair of pants or whatever the hell it is. But we're taking a set of sheets because it's got a queen size Murphy bed that drops down out of the wall. So we'll have a set of sheets with us, and then we're going to drive immediately to like a Big Lots and buy some plasticware or whatever to get us home, because we got all the RV junk here at home, and I didn't want to ship it back there and then find out the whole thing fell through, So we're going to come back very light on the crap that we buy. We're not even taking cameras. We're just going to use the iPhones and the iPad. And then when we get back, we'll figure out what from the old, because we're downsizing from a 31-foot motorhome that was, 31 feet in length and 9 feet in 8.5 feet in width and 11.5 feet in height to something that's 25 feet by 7.5 feet wide by 10.5 feet high. So it's a lot smaller, but it gets double the mileage over what I was getting before. And I can probably park it in a lot more convenient locations and stuff like that. So
Greg, check the length for sure, because
it's 25 feet and 1 inch, Steve. It's 25 feet and 1 inch.
Because 25 foot cannot be done in a residential neighborhood. It could be on your driveway or your side thing, but one of the restrictions was 25 feet.
You mean leaving it on the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And somebody'd have to get out with if that's the case, I'll take a sledgehammer and mash the logo in the front a little bit or something like that. Marsha's always said she wanted a Mercedes-Benz, so she's getting a Mercedes-Benz that just happens to have a house attached to it.
Greg, is it a Mercedes-Benz? No.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Because I was just getting you gave me an idea for what to do with my Mercedes-Benz hood ornament that I had from my first Mercedes.
There you go. So, I mean, this one has got the latest, greatest of all the, it's got the collision avoidance and the backup crap and the lane changing. Well, he's a doctor. He's a psychiatrist. As a matter of fact, you're familiar with Nathan's Hot Dogs?
Yes.
He's the grandson.
Oh, God.
And he is a psychiatrist. They live on a lake a psychologist. They live on a lake back there. And he tells us that they took the short trip or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden their daughter decided to have a humongous wedding, and they really couldn't afford both these expenses at the same time.
Oh.
Which is understandable. So that's okay. It's his loss is our luck. He added a few things. He added $4 or $5 grand worth of upgrades to it outside what he ordered it from the factory for. And so we're saving that money on it. But, with 2,500 miles, it's virtually brand new. No matter what.
I was going to say. When you started to say 25, I thought you were going to say 25,000.
Well, that would be nothing on a diesel engine. 25,000 miles is nothing. I mean, people say they don't even worry about it until they get to a couple 100,000. So
where's the picture?
Oh, I can show you a picture of it.
Greg?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned, you're planning to spend a couple of hours at Niagara Falls. Have you been to Niagara Falls before?
Never have.
You'd want a couple hours is nowhere near enough time. I would plan on at least a day there, because there's a lot of stuff.
The problem we have, Bart, right back to that same is it costs me $65 a day to keep the dogs in a kennel.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't
want to love them. Come on, spend the money.
What?
Yeah.
My wife just said, "Do you want to borrow the dog?"
No.
Oh shoot! Hang on a second.
No, we just want to tell you how to spend your money.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that
wow.
Was hot.
I want one.
I'm sorry, what?
What year is it?
Yeah, I'll show you what the inside looks like. Hang on a second here.
Wow.
So if you can see the inside of this thing,
Are those leather?
Yes, ultra leather, fake leather.
Yeah.
And so that couch, that centerpiece right here, becomes a filler here. If you turn it around, underneath there's seats that pull out with more cushion, so you can turn it into like an ottoman. These armrests here go up, so you can take these seat backs off, put them sideways, take this piece out, take that piece out. That's a table right there that drops down for dining. That's the kitchen area with a 2-burner stove and a sink and storage above and below.
What kind of stove is that? Is that an induction?
It's propane.
Oh.
It would take for an induction, you'd have to, this has only got a 1,000-watt pure sine inverter on it. You'd have to have more batteries and a bigger inverter for induction,
Doesn't-
but that's
it doesn't-
becoming
it
more.
doesn't have
That's
a
becoming
generator.
more. Yes, it does have a generator, but you know you don't want to be turning that on every time. So if you can help it, then back here in the rear, he's got this crooked picture here. Back here in the rear is this L-shaped couch. This piece here is an ottoman that slides underneath here. When you pull it out, you can either use it as an ottoman or that cushion comes off the top and a table pops up, so you can use it as like a computer workstation if you want to. Here's another TV back here. This is the bathroom over here at the right, and this is an interesting design on the door. This is the in-use version of the bathroom when the door is opened like this, but this piece, this angle piece can swaps out right here, and this opens up to you have more walking space when you're not using it as a bathroom. So that's kind of an interesting design. And the guy had this extra cushion made so they could use it as an additional sleeping area. The nice thing about it is, let me go back to that previous shot. If you look up, if you take the seat backs off, they just snap in place. If you take the seat backs off, this is a queen size bed that's up here in the wall that slides down and makes into the normal sleeping area. Of course, these two, the captain's chairs, the driver's chairs, both turn around to look into the area. There's another TV up here viewing wise.
That's really nice, Greg.
They cram a lot in a small space, which is really amazing. There's what the interior of the bathroom looks like, such as it is from that angle.
No, that's not bad. Cool.
Gee.
And then he added this if somebody runs into the back of it, hits this little bumper thing before it hits the actual bumper.
Oh.
But whether I'll leave that on or not, I have no idea. They're not that
Leave
expensive.
it on.
Oh, I will until I decide if we're going to tow our car or not. It may be small enough that we can use it just as it is. So
that's nice.
So we're really excited. We looked and looked and looked for a while, and then just dumb luck, this happened to show up. These things, this particular brand really holds its value. A 2013 with 56,000 miles was 109,000.
Wow.
And these new are around 140, and this guy wanted 139 because he had added another 12 or 13,000 to it, and we got him down a couple of grand. So, but at least we can get it. The problem is if you order a new one, you wait 8 to 10 months to get them. They're that much in demand.
Mm.
So, well, we're looking forward to it. So
Yeah,
should be should be real nice. Yeah.
Those big ones, I just don't know how people can drive those things.
Well, you have to. I mean, I've watched in the last 3 or 4 months. I've watched tons of videos, including a lot of families at full time who make videos and then put these up at Patreon or whatever, or have Amazon links to be able to collect a couple of bucks a month for people watching the videos or whatever. And a lot of people do full time living them that are retired or have families. We've been following one family that's been doing this for 2 or 3 years. I thought he might be on today. I sent him the information, and he said he was going to try. It depends where they're at. I think they're in Lake Tahoe area right now. And they produce a video once a week. Some people produce a video like every day. And, about their travels and the trips and how they're homeschooling the kids and what they're doing to save money and where they're camping at and all that kind of stuff. And it depends what you're going to do with it. If you're living up in the colder climates and your plan is to come south and spend 2 or 3 months out of the year or whatever, a bigger one makes more sense because you're going from point A to point B and you're living in it. It's your house. And so I can our 31 foot was okay, the one that we had. And then we towed the Honda behind it. But this is 25 foot, so it's small enough that since I'm handicapped, we can park it in a handicapped spot. If they don't have a pole sticking up, I can back it into the spot so it won't stick out any further than a regular car would be because it would overhang over the sidewalk or whatever. We've done that on the first Class C that we had. But there'll be times that, if you're going somewhere that you're going to stay 2 or 3 days, you don't necessarily want to have to break camp and unhook the water and electricity and all that, if you have that, and drive to the next location and use it to commute around town. So if we're going somewhere that we're going to be doing a lot of backcountry rides or whatever, we can tow either the Saturn that we have still or my Honda. Both of them are designed for towing purposes. Tow that behind this and then just leave this as our rest stop at night, our hotel at night or whatever it is, and take off on the car, which is what we did all the time before. It's just that it's a lot easier being smaller and lighter and cheaper. The old motorhome got 8 miles to a gallon. This one gets anywhere from 16 to 20, depending on how much of a lead foot you got, because it is diesel versus gas. And the reviews on it are just phenomenal, and being a Mercedes, at least the build quality is there. So that's good from that standpoint. So we're really looking forward to it. We're both excited about it. Hopefully we can get, anywhere from 5 to 10 years worth of utilization out of it before we become so decrepit we can't do anything anymore. So that's always a consideration anymore nowadays,
Do you guys ever see that show? I think it's on either HGTV or DYI network, where they showed these
tiny homes.
The tiny homes.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people can live in one of those things with virtually no space.
Well, this was real interesting. This one couple that were following around, husband and wife, are from Tennessee, so the drawl is really pronounced. They're some of these people have very clever names for their websites. One's called Keep Your Daydream. Theirs is called, and those people have sold their house. They lived in Phoenix. This particular couple we were watching last night, Marissa and Nathan, I forget what their last name, Moss is their last name, and they have a daughter, Hensley is their daughter. She's, I don't know, 3, Marcia, would you say about that? The daughter? Or 2. And they, in 1 year, or in 2 years, they went from a 43-foot class fifth wheel to a 39-foot Class A, and now they're at a 31-foot Airstream towing it with a diesel van, which so far seems to be working out pretty good for them. But they went to some kind of a show that was down, some kind of an RV thing that was down in Florida, which was which was designed for people who are full-timers. And then some of them had, they had a parade where people could, walk through all the various RVs to see what people have done. Holy mackerel, you can't believe all the changes people have gutted these things. There was one that slept 9 people inside this 40-foot motorhome, inside this 40-foot trailer. So they had a whole family. I mean, they had 3 sets of bunk beds, and then the queen bed in the back for the parents, and a couch bed and a dinette bed. And holy mackerel, so some people take this really serious. Like I said, wow. The bigger units, you'll find that people use it to go from point A to point B and stay a week or two. We think we're more of the kind to want to see as much as we can in the time that we still have left. So we'll be there 1 or 2 days and then move on to another space, another location, 1 or 2 days. We think that's how we'll end up doing the most of that's pretty much how we did most of the traveling we did before, unless we were going somewhere with a group. And there's a group that I've joined that's based out of San Diego, but it's for this particular brand. It's a bunch of owners of this kind of brand, and they're doing an Alaska caravan. Marcia and I did a cruise to Alaska years ago before we got married, but I've always wanted to drive it. My parents had driven it twice, but I never wanted to drive it by myself and could never find anybody that I knew that was into camping that was willing to take like 3 weeks to drive this. Well, this caravan is going to be gone 5 weeks or 6 weeks or something. I think they're going to 2019, I think, in like March or April of 2019. And they'll be, the last time they went, they had 40 units that went. Well, you're all going with the same brand, so if you break down, there's pretty good experience there for you to, for them to help you out if you've got a problem with the transmission or something like that. They've got it all planned out where you're going to stay this night. If you want to ride the trains or go fishing or whatever it is, they got all these package deals all lined up, and this particular group does something almost every month. They're going to Albuquerque here next month to the balloon festival. We went to Albuquerque where the balloons are at, but our scheduling put us there about 2 weeks after. We knew we couldn't get there when we wanted. We were there at the end of May. Not a good time to be in Albuquerque, temperature wise. And of course the motorhome broke down and we couldn't get a hold of Bob. We talked to him on the phone, but we couldn't get a hold of to spend any time with him. But we've always wanted to see the balloon festival. My parents had been there twice, and so we might do the caravan with them when they go in 2 years again with that. So at least you've got somebody who likes the same kind of things you're doing and wants to travel, and you're with a. That way, we'll get a chance to see what everybody's done to their little rigs to see what they're like as well. So we're really excited about the whole thing.
It's the same thing as what we're doing now, Greg. You know, where you have a club of knowledgeable people and people that are interested in other things, and just get together. Like,
I will tell you, it's real interesting. These guys that make these videos, and there must be 50 or so out there or more that are doing it. Families that are doing that. Almost all of them use GoPros, have drones to be able to get aerial footage. That's really amazing to look at the aerial footage they've got, because they'll hook their unit up, and then one of them will stand outside. They'll have one camera on a tripod. A lot of times they use their iPhones. One of the cameras will be on the tripod so they can get shots of them pulling out, and the other one's flying the drone to get an overhead scene of where they're at, leaving the campground or wherever they go to. That's really amazing to look at that. But almost all of them do all their editing on MacBook Pros. The one family of 5, the husband's got a MacBook Pro, the wife's got a MacBook Pro, and all 3 kids have MacBook Pros. So wherever they go, they're looking for Wi-Fi all the time, obviously. So they're a lot of times they're parking at a Walmart by the garden areas where Walmart has the free Wi-Fi at, apparently. So it's real interesting to hear all the little tricks and tips that people have come up with, because this guy's uploading a video every couple of days. The kids are doing their homework, mom's teaching them, or they're doing homeschooling or whatever, and they're all they've got everything down to where everything's electronic and don't have to carry a whole bunch of paperwork with them. They submit all their homework electronically. So not a bad way to go. It really isn't for a family, and they're getting a chance to see stuff. They came across a site, and we joined this group right away, called Harvest Host. And what it is, it's a bunch of wineries and farms. And even up in Oregon, there's a airfield where you can boondock, where you can dry camp for a night or 2. Sometimes they have water and electricity, but you can camp for a night or 2 for free. And then in the case of the wineries or the farms, if you want to, you can go out and pick grapes or help in the bottling process, or milk the cows or goats or whatever it is. Or one place was a cheese factory, and you got to go out there and actually make the cheese. And of course, the whole idea is these people, not only are they promoting their own little winery or their own little business, and they might sell you something out of their gift shop, but you'll go back and tell other people about it. And of course, they'll show up on your videos that you post up at YouTube or whatever. What a great learning experience for kids to see stuff like that. My parents bought their first trailer when I was a year old. And up until a couple of years ago, they still had motorhomes. They still had RVs up till a few years ago. And as kids, we went somewhere in that truck and camper, in that trailer and camper, probably every other month. We'd go like just for a weekend to O'Neill Park or someplace like that was close by. But we'd do a 2 or a 3-week vacation every year, depending on how much time Dad has. And we'd go to Yosemite, or we'd go to Colorado, or we'd go to Yellowstone, or wherever, or we'd go up to Canada. We went to the World's Fair up in Canada in '63, up in up in Seattle in '63. And so that's stuff that a lot of people don't get an opportunity to take advantage of, So, I mean, if your family's willing to do something like that and you've got a job, this guy does his primary job. She's a realtor, and he does some kind of medical materials marketing or something like that, something that he can do over the internet and over a phone. So he has like 2 days a week. He schedules a certain number of hours. They know they have to be somewhere where they've got Wi-Fi, so they're looking at, turned us on to all kinds of apps of where to be and how to play the game to be able to get a decent Wi-Fi connection or whatever it is. And in the meanwhile, the kids are inside going to school or whatever, with mom. She's a pseudo teacher the rest of the time. That ain't such a bad life to get. You're basically on a long time vacation and you're cramming all the work stuff in between. That isn't a bad way to go, I don't think.
Greg, I got a couple questions for you. First,
yeah.
Regarding that 40-foot trailer with the 9 people in it, did you have to ask them how they handle it in the morning with 9 people using one dinky bathroom?
Well, you know what, Bart? A lot of them have 2 baths.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of motorhomes and a lot of fifth wheels that are over about 35 feet will have a full bath and then a half bath, just a toilet and lavatory. And one they showed at an RV show, this thing was 44 or 45 feet. A lot of them have fake electric fireplaces. This one not only had a fireplace inside, the newest trend in the fifth wheels is to have built-in patios. So they'll have this wall that slaps up against the side when they get to wherever, of course, you can only go to certain places for this. You push a button and this ramp drops down and you've got another 8 by 8 square feet or cubic feet. You've got 64 cubic feet of a porch out here at that height with a bathroom just inside that area. And one of them even had another one of these built in the rear. This one was a toy hauler, so the rear hatch dropped down, and you could drive motorcycles or bicycles or a small car or Volkswagen dune buggy kind of thing up in the back of that. And then it had beds that dropped out of the ceiling when you weren't using it for that purpose. So I mean, you look at these things. Of course, they're several $100,000 or whatever it is, but it's nuts. But if that's your house and you're living in it, what the hell difference does it make? And then you stay somewhere. Especially if you live in colder climates, you come down south. That if you want to go someplace where you're paying electricity instead of 30 or 40 a night, it might be maybe 150 for the week, or maybe 450 for the month, or $500 or $600 for the month for water, electricity, sewage, and all that, and cable TV. That's starting to get down at the prices of what it would be for a cheap apartment or something like that, and you've got your own house with you all the way. So there's a lot of pluses and minuses to which combinations exist. It really is.
You mentioned them using the drones, which brings up last night, about 10 o'clock at night, I decided to, for the last time this season, since they're going to today bring me the pumps and we're going to drain the pool, it's the last time this season to go swimming, because when they put the new liner in and everything and fill it up, the water is going to be way too cold.
Sure.
So I was just lounging there out in the pool, and my next door neighbor, he's really into drones big time. He's got like some really expensive, sophisticated drones in his collection. I'm sitting there in the pool, and all of a sudden I look up in the sky, and we're near the Fullerton Airport, so I'm used to seeing, the lights of planes going by.
Sure.
But all of a sudden I see one in a place where it's just too low for a plane in the landing pattern for the Fullerton Airport. And then I realized he's flying his drone at night, and it's got lights on it, just like an airplane.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't want to fly into something.
Yeah.
Bart,
yeah.
We have the development above ours. We have a guy with a drone there, and a lot of us meet over to friends, my next door neighbor's house, driveway, and the little girls all play together, and we're sitting there and we see this drone come out and hover, and then it zips off some ways and this, and I always say, man, I wish I had one of those deals where you can shoot and it puts out a net and grab, just.
There was a guy on the internet that trained a falcon to attack.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw
really?
that.
Oh, really?
The falcon would attack him. Yeah.
The drones down.
Well, I got to tell you something. Actually, I don't think it's a bad thing. I wouldn't spend that kind of money on it. I don't have that kind of spend. I've got enough expensive hobbies. But one thing I'm seriously thinking about, I got to talk to him about it. It's gotten to the point where it's very difficult for me to climb my antenna tower. And it's been a long time since I've really been up there and inspected the top of it. And I'm thinking of going over there one of these days and asking him if he'll just take the drone with the camera and fly around it and see if we can do a inspection of it from the ground.
Bart, how tall is your antenna?
The antenna is sitting at 45 feet, but the tower is 38 foot, and then it's got a double wall mast out of the top.
Oh, okay. Because I was.
And it's a crank up tower, so it will crank down to 22 feet. But I leave it all the time.
What Mark and I did was we took and we had a problem with pigeons nesting in two little areas of the back of the house under a, not an eave per se, but on the roof. And we wanted to see what it was. And so we had bought at Costco, we bought this pole set that went to 16 feet. And I mounted a bolt inside of it on the end that goes into the little fuzzy things and secured that. And then I made a little holder for the first iPhone that we had. And we have since just found a way to make it work for the newer phones and put the phone up there and take it up to 16 feet, which is just about the eave. I mean, just about the gutter, and look up, and there's a program, an app that will allow you to put the phone up there, and you don't have to take pictures or anything. You just take, and what was it app called, Mark? Oh, he's on his slate or Surface. Anyway, but there's an app that will transmit down to your iPad, so you can watch and see where you're looking. And it was cool.
Hey guys, I'm going to have to be going. So if you all want to stay on, enjoy.
Well, I gotta get showered and get ready.
Gotta go. See you.
Okay.
Anyway,
Take
I'll
care,
be
guys.
sending out an email. I'll be sending out an email in the next few days with some ideas, and let me see if I can get you to participate back on the ideas about where we should take this. Okay?
Okay.
And I'll send you some ideas today or tomorrow, Greg.
Sounds good, Bart. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right.
Bye. Steve, actually,